Chapter 1104. Roar. Master! Master! Chi. Ito-ta roared excitedly. His speed was raised to the limit as he shuttled through the void at an astonishing speed. He was only one person, but he didn't care about exposing his aura and whereabouts. He condensed the embryonic form of the great world and merged with the 5 godly beasts. After becoming the supreme of Hongmeng, whether it was him or the 5 godly beasts, the soul contract with Chen Hao had been completely broken. Therefore, it was almost impossible to sense the aura of his master in the boundless extraterritorial battlefield. He believed that his master must have returned. After all, the members of Proud Heavens had returned. However, until now he had only heard about the members of Proud Heavens. There was no news about the appearance of the killing god Chen Hao. Ito concluded that his master must be hiding his identity, or even acting in secret. Otherwise, with his master's heaven-defying combat strength, how could there be no news about him? However, not long after Ito-ta excitedly rushed into the depths of the extraterritorial battlefield and howled in search of his master, the token received a message from Commander Si Xian. After thinking about it, he immediately stopped howling and quickly returned to the entrance of the human race. In the boundless extraterritorial battlefield, where was his master? No matter how strong he was, no matter how fast he was, he couldn't compare to the effect of 21 legions searching for him. It was better to go back and wait, so that he wouldn't miss him. After returning to the group of cultivators at the entrance of the human race, Ito-ta unscrupulously roared at the cultivators of the human race. Everyone burst out laughing. Even Commander Si Xian, who was sitting cross-legged like a statue, couldn't help but laugh. Listen carefully. When my master, the killing god Chen Hao, returns, if anyone dares to say that I am messing around with beauties with big butts, I will fight with my life. Also, beauties, don't come looking for me in the future. From now on, I will never contact you again. Oh, at most, I will take the initiative to look for you when I have time. Also, if you like something, but haven't done anything yet, don't come looking for me. From now on, I am Ito-ta, a gentleman. Killing god Chen Hao. Proud Heavens warrior. Killing god Chen Hao. General Aotian. The humans had sent 21 legions, nearly 1 million people, into the depths of the battlefield. Proud Heavens forces didn't have command medallions, so it was a mystery how they had managed to get here. Therefore, the human cultivators used the simplest and most direct method. Wherever the legions went, tens of thousands of people would shout the same words as they did. The more they shouted, the louder they sounded. The more they shouted, the more spirited they became. The cultivators of the 21 human legions all became spirited. Especially when they thought of Itota's abnormal strength. They were full of expectations for Aotian's core warrior and killing god Chen Hao. Chi. Did you hear that? A month later, Chen Shui and the other girls, who had been wandering in the depths of the ancient chaos battlefield in search of the outsider army, arrived on a meteor that was even larger than an ordinary planet, and gathered together again. It seems that we've been exposed in the end. Chen Shui said. It's not that we didn't disguise ourselves well enough. It's been 10 years, and they should be able to see through the summary of our battles. If the Alliance of the 9 Galaxies still can't guess who we are, they would be fools, Hu Meinyang said. No wonder the Dark Demons and Sky Demons have stopped fighting, and the 9 Galaxies have once again formed an alliance to march towards the entrance of the human territory. Heli and Wuxia frowned slightly. It seems that they're going to fight to the death. Our human legions are clearly looking for us. Why are they shouting, brother? Brother hasn't been exposed, Chen Yan said, a little confused. Others might not have thought of it, but Senior Yilan did. Now that the human legions are shouting, it must be Senior Yilan's idea. Chen Shui said. Shall we go and take a look? Let's. The rebellion is over, and the final battle is coming. We can only guard the entrance of the human territory. Little Shui, you should talk to him and Coiling Dragon. They might not hear us. Tell them to gather here. Chen Shui nodded, and then sent a message to the warship hidden in the void through her personal AI, a technology from the Skyriver sector. No one knew that every member of Proud Heaven had a super warship. Although it didn't have any law of divine ability, It was equipped with high-tech concealment capabilities that allowed cultivators to ignore it, because it didn't contain any law of divine ability. Of course, this warship was naturally inferior to Little Wisdom 1, which combined technology and law of divine ability. Now, however, the old god seemed to have completely disappeared, and Chen Hao had lost his heaven-defying ability to refine weapons. Although he could refine weapons, it took too much effort and time, and he could only make do with the strongest warship in the Sky River sector. Gather? Gather? In a region where reinforcements could arrive in a short time, Coiling Dragon, Du Jing, Lin Xia, Chen Ling, Li Yang, Chen Nan, and Lan Feng all received Chen Shui's message at the same time. The human commander has summoned us. We've been exposed. Is it time for the final battle? Pust. Pust. It didn't take long for Coiling Dragon and the others to gather. Go. Go. Fuck. Brother Pan, Brother Du, can you not look at me like that? Sob sob sob. I miss boss more than any of you. Really? I doubt it. Women are like clothes, brothers are like limbs. Bah. Lin Xia spat at Lan Feng, her eyes filled with disdain. Whoever touches my clothes, I'll break their limbs. Du Jing glared at Lan Feng. Get lost. Brother Du, Master Du, please, are you okay? I've thought it through. What's mine is mine, and what's not mine can't be forced. Besides, boss doesn't have any feelings for me. She's just helping me. I'm just occasionally in heat. If I knew she was interested in boss, I wouldn't have even thought about it. I can't guarantee anything else, but I can guarantee that from now on, I'll only love boss. Lan Feng, don't be so disgusting. Big brother doesn't have that kind of hobby. The love I'm talking about isn't the love you guys are talking about. It's great love, boundless love. You guys have to help me out. I don't want boss to feel bad because of me. Lan Feng said pitifully. All right, since you're sure there's nothing else, we'll go now. Let's go. Chi 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 chi. Everyone turned into a ray of light, and quickly headed in the direction Chen Shui pointed out. Lan Feng had indeed thought it through. However, a feeling that had just sprouted and died was buried deep in his heart. In this life, it would never appear again. 10 years of crazy battles. Even though boss never contacted any of them, and there was no news of boss, it was precisely because of this that Lan Feng felt guilty and uneasy. When had the god of slaughter, Chen Hao, not been shining brightly? Killer god Chen Hao, wherever he went, blood would flow like a river, and the earth would be turned upside down. However, boss stirred up a storm in these 10 years, but he never revealed his identity. This was the time to gather endless luck. Why did boss give up? 10 years ago, he was the first to leave because he was injured. The first time he fell in love, he was completely rejected. What was even more tragic was that the other party might be interested in boss. That feeling, other than despair, was that the heavens were blind. Why didn't they let him know earlier? Instead, they made him fall in love, and then openly asked his brothers, sisters, sisters-in-law, and even boss for help. Then they told him that the other party liked boss. If this wasn't cheating, then what was? However, he really fell in love with her. He couldn't control himself. He was afraid that he would embarrass himself in front of boss and his brothers, so he had to leave first. He wasn't stupid. He couldn't blame boss. What did that have to do with boss? Not to mention, boss was helping him. On a fragment of a meteorite covered in ancient battle scars, Chen Hao's mind turned into countless tentacles, gently touching the Tao marks that had lost all energy and mysterious aura. To be precise, they couldn't be called Tao marks anymore. At best, they were traces of battle left behind by sword and saber. The pressure and energy have long disappeared, but the sword intent still exists. Although it's very weak, this is shocking enough. Ancient chaos, how strong were the cultivators from the ancient era? The more Chen Hao probed, the more surprised he was. The extraterritorial battlefield had existed since ancient times. It had always been the place where the top experts of the ancient chaos world fought. The huge meteorites floating in the void were undoubtedly the remains left behind after the collapse of stars. They recorded the top battles of the ancient chaos world from ancient times to the present. If it wasn't for the fact that too much time had passed, causing the energy contained in the countless Tao marks to dissipate, making it impossible to comprehend the mysteries within, This would definitely be a super holy land for cultivators to comprehend. Even so, some Tao marks that were not very old and still emitted a faint mysterious pressure, were still the main goal of the Hongmeng Supremes who stepped into this place. Of course, that was before the war between the 10 galaxies broke out. Now no one could calm down and comprehend. No place could maintain peace for a long period of time. Those who were weak did not even leave the army. When I go back, I must ask Senior Yilan for advice. The ancient chaos world is not as simple as it seems. Chen Hao patted the rock under him and said. As soon as he finished speaking, a crystal light flashed between his eyebrows. A terrifying devouring power sucked the meteorite fragment that was thousands of miles wide into his mind. The reason why Chen Hao was surprised was because he discovered that this meteorite fragment, which was relatively very small, was hard to a terrifying degree. Moreover, it contained a very, very weak remnant will. If it wasn't for his abnormal perception, it would be impossible for him to detect it. And this rock, even if he used all his strength, could only leave a shallow mark on it. But it was covered with crisscrossing ancient sword marks that were thousands of feet deep, and had a surface as smooth as a mirror. First update, begging for monthly votes. Chapter 1105. This meteorite was definitely made of rare materials. If he could incorporate them into his artifact forging process, it would greatly increase the artifact's power. This was the 8th meteorite. Chen Hao had found the 8th meteorite in a radius of several billion kilometers. Beep beep beep. Just as Chen Hao was about to continue his search, Little Wisdom One's crisp voice rang in his head. Master, Matriarch Little Snow has sent a message. She's summoning Master and Proud Heaven's members to meet up with her. Did something happen? Chen Hao frowned slightly. The human legions are searching for Master and Proud Heaven's core generals. Matriarch Little Snow and the others just ran into them. They've deduced that Senior Yilan is summoning us. So we've been exposed. Let's go then. Let's go. Chen Hao wasn't too surprised. The fact that Gao Kuan's chaos had lasted for 10 years was already far better than he'd expected. Chen Hao had guessed that Proud Heaven's core generals might have been exposed the moment the Dark Demons and the Sky Demons called a truce. As long as they weren't idiots, they would have guessed that something was wrong with Gao Kuan when Proud Heaven's core generals stepped out of the 10 Directions domain. This battle would naturally end. 10 years, that's really stupid. Pfft. The corners of Chen Hao's mouth curled up into a smile, and his figure flickered, disappearing on the spot. God of Slaughter Chen Hao. The 21 human legions had entered every corner of the Outer Realm battlefield. When they didn't run into Chen Shui and the others, they shouted their battle cries for foreign cultivators to hear. Even though they were all from the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, everyone knew that God of Slaughter Chen Hao had led the human legions into the primal secret realm, and slaughtered countless foreign geniuses. It could be said that Chen Hao, the god of slaughter, had been the target of the outsider rulers' efforts since more than 10,000 years ago. They were all too familiar with God of Slaughter Chen Hao for the human legions to be shouting so loudly. Could it be that Chen Hao had returned with Proud Heaven's core generals 10,000 years ago? Or was it just because God of Slaughter Chen Hao was the founder of Proud Heaven? This was something that the non-humankind army couldn't be sure of. But at this moment, even though they had discovered the human legions, they still chose to avoid them for the time being and bide their time. They only sent the news back to their respective commanders. After sending a message to Chen Hao, Pan Long, and the others, Chen Shui went to greet the human army with the other girls. It was inevitable that they would cause a huge commotion. Just as Chen Shui and the others had guessed, it was Controller Yilan who summoned them back. However, what puzzled them was that the leader of the human army mentioned that Controller Yilan and Snow Plum True Immortal had summoned him, but he didn't mention Controller Chen Wuliang and Snow Plum True Immortal. They didn't ask any questions. They simply told them that the members of Proud Heaven and Chen Hao would return as soon as possible. The human core directly sent the message through the token. Soon, the 21 Corps finished their work and headed for the entrance of the human territory one after another. Commander Xi Xian also immediately sent the message to her master Yilan. Yilan and Snow Plum True Immortal couldn't calm down, let alone Itoda, who was at the entrance of the human territory. At the same time, Countless human cultivators gathered at the entrance of the human territory were also looking forward to the return of proud heaven's generals and god of slaughter Chen Hao. Chi. They're here. Streams of light streaked across the sky at an astonishing speed. Chen Shui, Hu Meinyang, and the others looked up at the sky. It had already been a month since Chen Shui sent the message. In the boundless extraterritorial battlefield, they had been separated for 10 years. They had traveled in different directions, and were obviously very far away from each other. It took Pan Long and the others a month, but for most of the cultivators in the extraterritorial battlefield, it would take them at least 3 months. Pan Long, who looked like a ferocious beast in human form, landed on the meteorite ground with a boom, causing the earth to tremble. Du Jing and Lin Xia, who were glued to each other like glue, slowly descended. Chen Nan's figure was elegant like a breeze. Chen Ling and Li Yang's aura was concealed. Even Chen Shui, who had awakened her special ability, couldn't detect them if she didn't look carefully. This was the natural state of the two when they didn't deliberately hide their aura. In 10 years, everyone had improved tremendously, but the one who surprised Chen Shui and the others the most was Lan Feng. It wasn't that Lan Feng's aura had improved, but that he seemed to have become a different person. His aura was filled with a strong murderous intent, and a valiant aura that only Pan Long had. Sisters-in-law, what's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that? Where's boss? I miss boss so much. Faced with the gazes of the girls, Lan Feng immediately panicked and retreated. Lan Feng, you motherfucker, are you trying to disgust us? Pan Long cursed. Sisters-in-law, I'm not trying to cause trouble, but I can't stand it. You don't know, Lan Feng said he only loves boss. TSK, look, he's turning into a sissy. Scram. Worm, I told you my love is boundless, do you understand? What sissy? I'm just scared of you, sisters-in-law. Little Yen, where's brother? Is he not here yet? Chen Nan asked as he appeared beside Chen Yan. I didn't go near the entrance of the human territory. I've been going deep into the enemy's territory. He still needs some time to get here. Chen Yan said. Then she stared at Chen Nan and said, Little Nan's second brother, you seem to have improved faster than me. That's for sure. With a lunatic around, how can we not improve quickly? Du Jing smiled and interjected. Brother Du, you're getting bolder. Wrong. Little Yen, the lunatic that Worm is talking about is not me, it's our son of destiny. Ahem. How long until boss gets here? Lan Feng coughed awkwardly and changed the topic. He's hundreds of billions of miles away from us. With his speed, it'll take him at least 2 months. We're close to the entrance of the human territory, but with our speed, we can get there in 10 days or so. Chen Shui said. Then let's wait. Worm, Lan Feng, Little Nan, let's find a place to drink. Okay. After Pan Long and the others left, Chen Shui, Hu Meinyang, Helian Wuzi, and the others surrounded Lin Xia and Chen Ling. Although Lan Feng seemed to be doing well, the girls did not know the real situation. After Chen Ling told the girls about the situation before Lan Feng returned, and what he said, the girls were relieved. Hiss. Just as Pan Long and the others were looking for a place to drink and leave, a cool breeze silently appeared above the girls. Their conversation was heard by the cool breeze without missing a word. However, even Chen Shui, who had the strongest perception, did not sense anything strange. Then, the cool breeze swept past and floated in the direction of Pan Long and the others. In fact, Pan Long's so-called looking for a place was nothing more than a distance away from the girls. Men and women, especially most of them were his sisters-in-law, so it was awkward for them to be together. For many years, unless they encountered a dangerous situation, they would mostly train separately. Only when something happened would they gather together to discuss it. Lonely as snow. Brother Pan, Lan Feng, Little Nan, don't you feel this way? Sitting on the ground, the few of them took out some top-grade wine that ordinary cultivators could not afford to drink and gathered together. This was the only fun they had whenever they gathered together. It was also the most enjoyable time on the cruel path of cultivation. Du Jing casually took a sip of the wine that seemed to contain countless poisonous insects. It disgusted Pan Long and the others, but it was Du Jing's favorite wine. Fuck Worm, you're lonely as snow? Aye, Lan Feng. And little Nan can understand if you're lonely as snow. Ahem. I'm talking about cultivation. Cultivation? Before we set foot in the 10 Directions domain, we were under great pressure. When we set foot in the 10 Directions domain, the pressure was so great that we couldn't bear it. First, little Nan's body and soul were destroyed. Then Ling or Brother Yang, and you all had their bodies destroyed. Their nascent souls escaped and left us one by one. Proud Heaven's main generals were almost all killed. The shadow of death was like a curse that constantly threatened us. Brother Pan, little Nan, you should leave first. Do you know how Lan Feng and I felt at that time? Worm. Do you know how I felt? I know that before I followed Big Brother, I didn't have any brothers or sisters. Du Jing, the merciless tyrant, was ruthless and unscrupulous. As long as I could improve my cultivation and benefit myself, I would do anything. But after I met Big Brother, I knew what it meant to be brothers and sisters. When you left one by one, I couldn't see any hope or tomorrow, so I was in despair. But I had to endure it. My sisters-in-law were still here. Although we were not as strong as them, as long as we were still alive, I had to protect them for Big Brother when he was not here. But when Little Snow's body was destined to be destroyed, I couldn't bear it anymore. That kind of pain. I just wanted to risk my life and die. Maybe if I sacrificed myself, I could buy a little time for everyone. Buy a little time to make me suffer more? You're all men. Only me. Only me. Heaven and earth won't help me. Even if I wanted to die, I was imprisoned by Main Yang. Fuck, why are you talking about this? Isn't it all in the past? Pan Long scolded harshly when he saw their expressions. Oh right. I couldn't help myself. Let's not talk about this. I talked about cultivation and loneliness because after Big Brother returned, he surpassed our understanding in a short period of time. Now we are only golden immortals of the great all-embracing heaven. We haven't even had the time to comprehend the primordial chi and obtain the great world imprint. However, with our strength, we can easily handle this ancient chaos battlefield where only primordial supremes can survive. I don't dare to say anything else, but with Big Brother around, even if the final battle to guard the entrance of the human territory will be difficult, I believe that we'll be the final winners. After that, or after we return to the 10 Directions territory and advance to Hongmeng, we'll be as lonely as snow, vast universe galaxy, and even the ancient chaos battlefield. Other than looking for Big Brother to trample on and looking for you to harm yourselves, I really can't think of any other enemies that can train us. Second update. Seeking monthly votes. More than 6,000 words. The Dark Mountain Conference will continue, but I suggest that you don't wait until tomorrow. 10,000 words are necessary. Seeking monthly votes. Chapter 1106. That's a lot, sizzle. The poisonous insect wine in front of Du Jing was sucked dry. At the same time, a voice appeared in their ears out of nowhere. It was just a voice that didn't contain any energy. Pan Long, Du Jing, Chen Nan, and Lan Feng were stunned. Their eyes widened as they looked at Chen Hao. Why didn't you wait for me to drink? Brother, boss, senior brother. You're exaggerating. Didn't sister-in-law say it would take 2 more months? 10 years ago, I did need 2 more months. Don't be surprised. Wait until you understand the Hongmeng energy and refine the prototype of the great world. Then you'll understand what's going on. Bug, do you feel lonely now? Boss. Before Du Jing could answer, Lan Feng pounced on Chen Hao. He opened his arms and hugged Chen Hao tightly like a little wife. His eyes were red. Cough cough. Pan Long, Du Jing, and Chen Nan all widened their eyes as they watched. Pan Long wanted to scold Lan Feng, and Du Jing wanted to tease Lan Feng as well. However, when they saw that their boss didn't dodge Lan Feng's attack, and instead patted Lan Feng's back, they immediately fell silent. Is that enough? After more than 10 seconds of silence, Chen Hao opened his mouth and said, Boss, I'm getting goosebumps. Pfft. Ha 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 ha. Boss, it's not enough, not enough. You're my favorite, my favorite. Motherfucker, that's enough. Lan Feng, if you don't let go, we're going to vomit. Pan Long said as he pulled Lan Feng out like a chicken. Fuck, big idiot, I haven't hugged you enough. Hugging my boss makes me feel safe and comfortable. You'll know when you try. Lan Feng said seriously as he broke free from Pan Long's grip. Motherfucker, stay away from us. Du Jing couldn't help but laugh. Lan Feng, I know what you mean. If it were any other woman, I'd definitely find a way to help you. But Xiao Feng, I can't help you. You can only fight for her yourself. If she's really because of me. Boss, please don't tell me. Lan Feng hurriedly interrupted Chen Hao and said, I've already let it go. I've really let it go. I was just horny for a moment. It's really nothing. I don't want you to be affected because of me. It's unfair to you and her. I didn't know that she was interested in you before. If I had known, I wouldn't have had any thoughts. Fortunately, it's not too late. In these 10 years, boss, I've thought about it very clearly. You are my boss for life. I can live without a woman for the rest of my life, but I can't estrange you because of a woman. Are you talking about me when you talk about women? Boom. Chi. Ni. Hu. In practically an instant, Chen Hao suddenly struck out. With a wave of his hand, he sent Pan Long, Du Jing, Lan Feng, and Chen Nan tens of thousands of kilometers away. His presence suddenly soared to an extremely terrifying level as he stared at the sky and said coldly, My dear disciple, your reaction is so fast. His indifferent voice was obviously a little surprised, and the way he addressed him was also a little intimate. However, it still gave people a feeling of tranquility. Who are you? Chen Hao still stared at the sky and said, The person who caused you brothers to fall into a relationship. Why, do you have a lot of masters? Xiao Feng. Ancestor Wuji? Chen Hao said in surprise. His consciousness instantly entered the sea of blood and mountains of corpses in his mind, and then he said, I know. Is it the original body or the second life? Whoosh. The sky suddenly shook like waves. A woman who looked very similar to Ancestor Wuji, but more mature, appeared in front of Chen Hao and the quickly returning Lan Feng, Pan Long, Du Jing and Xiao Nan. She was very beautiful, like a mature woman. She had the delicate and pretty appearance of the little sister of the Lin family, but also the charm of a young woman next door. Except for Pan Long, whose sense of beauty was completely out of the ordinary, not to mention Du Jing, Lan Feng, and Chen Nan. Even Chen Hao was stunned. She was clearly the limitless old ancestor, Xiao Feng. However, she was much more attractive than Xiao Feng, that young and inexperienced girl. You can call me Teacher Si Xian. Ancestor Wuji Xiao Feng is just my fake identity on the Wuji planet. Oh, my third life is your master. Si Xian looked at Chen Hao with her tranquil eyes. Teacher Si Xian. Du Jing's eyes widened. Ah. Si Xian. Teacher Si Xian? I knew it. I knew it. Lan Feng was dumbfounded. He stared blankly at Si Xian and muttered to himself, as if he had figured something out. Lan Feng, is it? Little brat, I remember that you participated in my preaching in the temple, right? Your Poison King Valley's Valley Master had to call me teacher when he saw me. And you actually dared to pursue my third life. Master Complex? Lan Feng's face suddenly turned red. He lowered his head like a student who had made a mistake, and didn't dare to say anything. Damn it, he wouldn't have known if she hadn't mentioned it, but now that she mentioned it, it really was the case. No wonder he was so moved when he saw Ancestor Wuji Xiao Feng, to the extent that he couldn't control himself. Even now he had adjusted himself, but if he really wanted to forget that feeling in the depths of his heart, it was impossible to do so in a short time. Si Xian, the deputy temple master of the temple, would occasionally preach to the temple disciples. But when she preached, no one could clearly see the immortal legend of the vast universe galaxy. They could only vaguely see the outline, but even so, she had become a goddess in the hearts of countless temple disciples. Of course, she was a goddess who could only be worshipped and didn't dare to have any extravagant hopes. So strong. Huge waves were set off in Coiling Dragon's heart. Since the other party had appeared here, it was obvious that the other party's cultivation was only at the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. However, when the other party had appeared, not to mention them, even Big Brother Chen Hao, who was many times stronger than them, had only sensed the other party's presence when the other party was in close proximity. And at this moment, Coiling Dragon only felt that the other party's aura was unfathomable. She was even more terrifying than Boss. Chen Nan was the same. As for the senior disciples Du Jing and Lan Feng, who had been in the temple for many years, there was no need to even mention them. One only needed to know their names to know how strong they were. What about me? After Xi Xian finished speaking to Lan Feng, she looked at Chen Hao and asked. In the mind? Chen Hao was also surprised by Xi Xian's strength. This was especially so when the other party had appeared without a sound and approached him. He had only sensed it the moment before the other party opened his mouth. If she had suddenly attacked at that time, it would have been too late even if he had reacted quickly. But now that he knew the other party's identity, Chen Hao relaxed. He pointed to his head and said, In captivity? Plop! Plop! Coiling Dragon, Du Jing, and Lan Feng directly sat on the ground in an exaggerated manner. They were shocked by Xi Xian's words. Chen Hao's eyes widened as well, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Fortunately, Chen Hao's mental fortitude was strong, and he forcefully suppressed the impulse to spit out blood and said, It was you who wanted to enter and comprehend it. Comprehend what? The third anima is already connected to my cultivation comprehension. Her comprehension of the law of mystiques and cultivation experience are the same as mine. Oh no, could it be that she really has feelings for a brat like you? Xi Xian stood in the void and stared at Chen Hao. Chen Hao, hurry up and let her out. No problem. I'll leave it to you, Chen Hao said straightforwardly. As he spoke, a crystal light flashed between his eyebrows. Ah. Chen Hao, what are you doing? While in the air, Xiao Feng angrily pointed at Chen Hao's nose and angrily said, You wanted to come out yourself. It's none of my business. Chen Hao said speechlessly. When did I want to come out? Stingy brat, I've only comprehended a third of it, and you're already unhappy? My first succession will be given to you 100% of the time. Hurry up and send me in. You tell yourself. What myself? Ah. As Xiao Feng was glaring at Chen Hao, a figure suddenly appeared between her and Chen Hao, causing Xiao Feng to scream. Her eyes widened as she stared at the frowning figure in front of her. You're my true body? Xiao Feng said in shock. You're not stupid. Xi Xian frowned. What are you talking about? You're the stupid one. Xiao Feng said in a bad mood. You're talking about me? You're talking about yourself. Xi Xian pointed at her nose and glared at Xiao Feng. You're the same. Xiao Feng raised her chin and said fearlessly. What was she afraid of? She was herself. So what if her aura was strong and her cultivation was strong? Could it be that they could destroy him? However, Coiling Dragon, Du Jing, and Chen Nan were all dumbfounded. They stared at each other, speechless to the extreme. She was arguing with herself? Too fresh. Brothers, come, let's drink. Chen Hao, who was also speechless and puzzled, transmitted his voice to Coiling Dragon and the others. Boss, let's watch the show. Nonsense, have you seen such a fresh thing before? You're right. Should we ask the sisters-in-law to come and watch? If we miss this opportunity, we won't have another one, Lan Feng said. No need. She shielded everything within a radius of 10 million miles. Chen Hao shook his head. No way. Du Jing's eyes widened in shock. Very strong, much stronger than me. Chen Hao finished the wine in his cup in one gulp. He looked at Xi Xian and Xiao Feng, who were still staring at each other as he transmitted his voice. This, boss, teacher Xi Xian is an immortal legend in our vast universe galaxy. An immortal legend? Yes, it's said that she's been like this since tens of millions of years ago. Her strength is unfathomable. But now I know why she's an immortal legend. Her third life is the same age as us. Naturally, she won't age even if she wants to. This must be the reason why she hasn't severed her Tao. It's said that uncle and your father are all very polite to her. When uncle stepped into Hongmeng, he swept through the foreign battlefields and was invincible. Our human race's top experts have all been challenged, but uncle has never challenged her. Some people speculate that her strength is at least equal to uncle's. Wait, who's older between my father and her? Teacher Xi Xian is older. Otherwise, how could she be called an immortal legend? Boss, I'm really blind. I won't hide it from you, but she was right. When I saw Xiao Feng, I had a feeling that I was really in love with a teacher. Damn, fortunately, I figured it out now. Even if you beat me to death, I won't dare to have any improper thoughts. Cough cough. She's older than my father. Third life. Why does it take so long? Could it be that Senior Yilan did it on purpose? Chun Hao muttered to himself. I understand now. Senior Yilan is really not simple. He comprehended the Shao family patriarch's 9-life ultimate technique. Although he only comprehended 3 lives, he used them to the extreme. No wonder her original body is so strong. In the vast universe galaxy, the Wuji star was the 3rd life of the Wuji star. When he appeared, it was basically the lowest life planet in the vast universe galaxy. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth was extremely poor, and in the area controlled by the Yang star, it barely made it into the list of 1008 life planets. How barren must Xixian's original body and second life have been tens of millions of years ago? It would be strange if her cultivation progress wasn't slow, but she had cultivated to the peak of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. Moreover, Chun Hao believed that as soon as Xixian left the Wuji star, Yilan would sever her connection with the Wuji star, leaving her to the second life and then the third life. In other words, the Wuji star's Wuji star could only reach the Daluo Golden Wonderland. In such a difficult environment, she had relied on herself to grow bit by bit. She definitely didn't rely on the comprehension of heaven and earth, or an excellent cultivation environment. An expert who grew up was even more terrifying. Moreover, she had probably experienced countless deaths over such a long period of time, at least in the second and third lives. You've fallen in love with that brat Chun Hao. At that moment, the two of them stared at each other in a deadlock. Finally, Xixian spoke first. Her words attracted Chun Hao, Lan Feng, and the others, and they all pricked up their ears. Chun Hao was speechless. How could she not transmit such a private matter, especially to herself? But he had to admit that Chun Hao found it very interesting. What does it have to do with you? Don't think that just because you're the original body, I'm afraid of you. I'm not afraid of myself. Imph. Do you think I won't destroy you right now? Do as you please. If you destroy me, you can cultivate for tens of thousands of years. After all, the soul imprint of the third life has already formed. Life or death, I won't die, and my consciousness will awaken. Oh, I forgot to tell you, my current comprehension is even stronger than yours. If you have the guts, don't destroy me. Wait until I reach the Hongming realm, then I'll destroy you in a matter of minutes. My original body. Nonsense. If Master hadn't connected our realms, our state of mind, and our state of mind, with your little bit of strength, let me tell you, you're the weakest of my 3 lives. What kind of experiences have you had? How long have you been cultivating? You've already reached the Daluo Golden Wonderland. Look at you. How many times weaker are you than that brat Chun Hao? Even proud Heaven's core generals are 10 times stronger than you. So you know how to talk about time? Time? I don't have anything else, but I have time. You let me cultivate my original body and second life for so many years. Let's see how I destroy you in a matter of minutes. You. Fine, I'll give you time. Originally, I was going to let you reach the Hongming realm and cut the Tao, and Master allowed it. Since you said so, I'll see how strong you are. I won't see you off. Xiao Feng curled his lips and waved his hand to drive her away. Break. Chi. What made Xiao Feng's eyes widen was that Xixian suddenly let out a soft cry. Her forehead flashed with endless crystal light. In that instant, Xiao Feng clearly felt his powerful state of mind and cultivation comprehension disappear. The only thing that didn't disappear was the profound mysteries of the Immortal Sutra that she had comprehended with the help of her previous state of mind and cultivation comprehension. You're still very young. Slowly cultivate. Don't spoil things by excessive enthusiasm. In any case, I don't need to sacrifice you. Third update. 4,000+ words. I finished my outburst. Can I get a monthly ticket? Thank you. Chapter 1107. You. Fine as you wish. Xiao Feng stomped her feet angrily. Although her power was not weakened, the feeling of an expert had disappeared completely. It was as if she had returned to a primitive society. Xiao Feng would not have felt this way if she had never possessed it. However, losing it after possessing it made her feel depressed. However, Xiaofeng also knew that the original body's actions would undoubtedly make her stronger when she reached the supreme of Hongmeng. Chen Hao, send me in. Xiaofeng turned to Chen Hao and said with an aggrieved face. Are you sure? Chen Hao looked at the young version of Xiaofeng and the mature version of Xixian and asked. Of course I'm sure. Humph. Do you think I'll be afraid without her state of mind? Xiaofeng said. Do whatever you want. Xixian said. Hearing the answer from the original body and the third life, Chen Hao did not say anything and sent Xiaofeng into the mountain of corpses and the sea of blood. As expected, the instant Xiaofeng entered, he screamed, baring his fangs and brandishing his claws as he fell into boundless fear. Chen Hao was amused, but he had to pay attention to Xiaofeng. Otherwise, if her mind collapsed, he would not be able to shirk the responsibility. Since you're all here, why don't you hurry back? My master and Xuemei are waiting for you. We'll leave immediately. No need, I'll take you away. Inform the others. Qi. This is. A moment later, Chen Shui and the others rushed over. When they saw Xixian, they were surprised and puzzled. Your teacher Xixian? Hu Meinyang looked at her for a moment and suddenly thought of something. Little Meinyang, long time no see. Xixian smiled slightly and swept her bright eyes across the faces of the girls. In his heart, he was even more astonished by Chen Hao, this brat. However, she did not show it on her face. She had observed Hu Meinyang and the other core warriors of Outyin before entering the 10-direction territory. Now, each of them had improved far beyond her expectations. This change was undoubtedly brought about by Chen Hao. Even she was curious as to what method Chen Hao had used to improve everyone's cultivation so quickly. Greetings, Teacher Xixian. Hearing Xixian's voice, Hu Meinyang was finally certain. After all, when Xixian was preaching, no one could see her clearly. They could only see her silhouette. Hu Meinyang had only dared to ask this because she had sensed the mysterious aura on the other party's body, as well as the vague resemblance between her and Teacher Xixian. Who would have thought that it was actually true? Teacher Xixian has another identity. She is the original body of the limitless ancestor, Xiaofeng. Chen Hao said. Ah. At this moment, all the girls were shocked. Don't mention that little. Xixian suddenly said. But when she said the word little, she held it back. After all, talking about her was the same as talking about herself. That was her third life. All right, I'll take you back. Qi. After saying that, Xixian waved her hand and sent out streams of mysterious energy that enveloped everyone. Then, she turned into a stream of light and flew away. So fast, the girls Panlong and the others were shocked. Only Chen Hao remained calm and composed. This speed? At best, it should be around 70% of his. How? What happened? Why is she here? When did you arrive? During the flight, the girls who were unaware of the situation asked through voice transmission. Chen Hao briefly explained the situation to the girls. Only then did they understand what was going on. They curiously discussed Xixian's situation in private. Of course, the ones who knew the most were Hu Meinyang, Du Jing, Lan Feng, and the others who had stayed in the temple for a long time. When the girls learned that Xixian actually had such a terrifying identity, they were all shocked. Especially when they thought about how her third life was the limitless ancestor, Xiaofeng. They couldn't describe how they felt. Xiaofeng had clearly expressed his affection for Chen Hao. Although no one had said it, they knew in their hearts that Xiaofeng had rejected Lan Feng. Whether it was because he didn't like Lan Feng or some other reason, the most important factor was probably Chen Hao. When the time came, if Xixian's original body also, the girls didn't dare to think about it. This was no longer a question of whether they could accept it or not. Rather, it was a little too exaggerated. An immortal legend that had lived for tens of millions of years. What kind of concept was that? Chi. Ah, killing god Chen Hao, proud heavens, war general. In less than a day, the cultivators outside the human territory's entrance area suddenly sensed the aura of lightning bolts coming from the void. When they saw the figures clearly, countless screams and shouts broke out. Master! Boom! After frowning slightly, Itoda suddenly burst out with an incomparably excited shout and rushed into the void with a rumble. With his strength and perception, He should have discovered the arrival of his master in advance. However, this time he was no different from the others. Chun Hao and the others seemed to have appeared out of thin air within their range of perception before quickly approaching the human territory's entrance. No one knew that Xi Xian, who was sitting cross-legged at the center of the human territory's army, was trembling slightly, the cicada shedding its carapace and returning to its original body. Killing God Chun Hao, proud heavens war general. Killing God Chun Hao, proud heavens war general. Feeling the powerful aura of the group, and the fact that they were only from the Daluo Golden Wonderland, the cultivators of the human territory's army automatically burst out in uniform cheers. Greetings, Master. Greetings, matriarchs. Itoda, who was originally a firefighter and the spiritual pillar of the human territory's army, cupped his fists and bowed from afar with an extremely excited and respectful expression. He was no longer the wild and unruly Itoda, who looked down on the world, and had no integrity at all. Holy shit! Itoda, your aura is so powerful. When Chun Hao waved his hand to stop Itoda, Pan Long rushed to Itoda's side with a swoosh, and said with a surprised expression, "It's so. When you all advance to Hongmeng, you won't be worse than me. You all are here, ha 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 ha. You don't know how anxious Master was how. Okay." Chun Hao waved his hand to stop Itoda and said telepathically, "Let's go back quickly." At the same time, Chun Hao, proud heaven, and the others all cupped their fists at the human territory's army from afar as a return of courtesy. "Let's go, I'll go back with you. Itoda, you stay here and guard." At this moment, Commander Xi Xian suddenly stood up and said, "Ah, Commander Xi Xian, you can't be like this, right? I just met Master. There will be plenty of time in the future. Carry out the order." Xi Xian said directly. Itoda still wanted to resist, but when he saw Chun Hao nodding at him, he immediately said dejectedly, "Okay." Stepping into the entrance of the human territory's army, Chun Hao and the others immediately saw countless old men. The overwhelming pressure made Chun Hao and the other members of Proud Heaven shocked. Xiao Jing. "Ah, Master." Du Jing rushed over. "Good grandson." "Ah, Grandpa." Pan Long looked at the shirtless old man who was as strong as him and immediately rushed over excitedly. "Meng Yang, Xiaofeng." The super masters of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm, including the Poison King Valley, the Savage Tribe, the Misty Rain Pavilion and the Lan family, were all excited, shocked, and pleasantly surprised as they gathered together with Du Jing and the others. Chun Hao, Chen Shui Long Ting, and the others who were born in the Wuji Star and the Yang Star had no relatives here. "Chun Hao, you're back. Good, very good. Donglu and Dongxing have always missed you." At this moment, an old man with a powerful aura arrived in front of Chun Hao with a swish and spoke with a slightly excited expression. "Grandpa Pan, how are they?" Chun Hao asked with a smile. This old man was Pan Donglu's grandfather. Good, they're all very good. Originally, they wanted to enter the 10 Square territory to find Proud Heaven's people, but they were all stopped by the controller. "Longting, your brother is with Donglu and Dongsheng. They should be in the Holy Palace now. Chun Hao, good boy, you're really something. After being destroyed in body and soul, you actually came back after more than 10,000 years. Ha ha. You've helped these kids improve so much. Old man hates that he wasn't born at the right time to be your brother. Ha ha." Pan Long's grandfather laughed and walked in front of Chun Hao. His huge palm slapped Chun Hao's shoulder with a boom. That power made the hearts of many of the surrounding experts tremble. However, Chun Hao didn't seem to feel it. He smiled and said, "Grandpa, you're flattering me. They improved because of their own reasons. It really has nothing to do with me. Well boy, if it weren't for you, old man would be worried about what happened to Xiao Jing. TSK, now they're in the Daluo Golden Wonderland. They're almost catching up with old man. Ha, do you think we don't know their talents? Boy, you're much stronger than the immeasurable master back then. Ha ha." Cough cough. Chun Hao scratched his head awkwardly. In front of the elders of his brothers, Chun Hao naturally had to act like a junior. "Chun Hao, I didn't make it clear before. Now that you've returned, Meng Yang's guardian will be you, right? You're not allowed to bully my disciple. This, senior, let's talk about it another day." Chen Hao was slightly taken aback. He looked at the charming and graceful Misty Rain Tower's master and frowned slightly. What? Don't tell me you don't like my disciple? Then why? Master, let's talk about it after the battle. Hu Meinyang hurriedly said when she saw her master's expression turn ugly. All right. At this moment, Xixian suddenly said, You old brats, stand down. Controller Yilan and true immortal Shuemei are still waiting. Cough cough, teacher Xixian is right. Chen Hao, Aotian, and the others were shocked. Although Lan Feng, Du Jing, and Hu Meinyang had all said that Xixian was awesome, they were still shocked to see all these old fellows calling her teacher. Moreover, they were so respectful. Stepping through the light gate, they entered the ancient starry sky road that resembled a starry river tunnel. Soon, under Xixian's guidance, they arrived at a city that wasn't huge and didn't have dense heaven and earth spiritual qi. However, it was filled with the aura of countless experts. This was the city that led to the extraterrestrial battlefield from the vast universe galaxy. They didn't stop and directly activated the powerful teleportation array. Not long after, they arrived at the sacred palace. First update: seeking monthly votes. Chapter 1108. Even Aotian and the others were excited. Let alone Chen Hao, who had been gone for over 10,000 years. Whoosh! As soon as they appeared in front of the temple, rays of immortal light poured down from the highest level of the temple and enveloped them. Soon after, they appeared in a huge palace. Greetings, Senior Yilan. When they saw the energetic Yilan and Han Mei true immortal, they bowed at the same time and greeted them. Mother! Before Chen Hao could finish his words, his figure flashed and he appeared in front of his mother at an extremely fast speed. Mother! Mother! Chen Nan and Chen Yan followed their eldest brother to their mother's side. This kid. Mother is still the closest to you. Ha ha. Very good, very strong. You're stronger than old man can imagine. Yilan glared at Chen Hao, his beard trembling slightly. Despite his words, it was clear that he had no objections to Chen Hao's greeting. He ran over to true immortal Shuemei and said, Rise and sit, all of you. You've all done well. You've all become so strong. Tianxi. I knew you'd come back. True immortal Shuemei stroked Chen Hao's face and said softly. Then she looked at Chen Nan and grasped his hand tightly. Nanner, I'm so happy to see you. Tears began to roll down her cheeks as she spoke. Mother. Chen Nan's heart ached. Mother. Little Yan, I thought I'd never see Nanner again. It was all an illusion, an illusion. You're all here, all here. It's so good. When they heard true immortal Shuemei's words, Chen Hao, Chen Nan, Chen Yan, and Aotian's expressions changed slightly and they all looked away. True immortal Shuemei must have sensed Chen Nan's death, which was why she'd said those words. Mother, if Big Brother hadn't come back, I really wouldn't have been able to see you. Mother, little Nan, second brother died trying to save me. Little Yan, let's not talk about that for now. Mother, where is father and Master Han Mei? Chen Hao interrupted and changed the topic. Reviving Chen Hao, Du Jing, and Lin Xia, whose bodies and souls had been destroyed, was something that Chen Hao could casually brush off Proud Heaven and the others, but in front of Yilanhe, it was not something that could be easily brushed off. Up until now, apart from Hellion Wuxia, no one knew that Lu Hui might be an immortal emperor-level expert, the spirit of all living things that had fallen into the cycle of reincarnation. Chen Hao did not intend to tell the others, so he did not want to mention the matter of reviving Chen Nan and the others. Wuliang and Han Mei went to the great world of Xiandi. Xiao Yanzi, continue. What happened to Xiao Nan in order to save you? To Chen Hao's embarrassment, Yilan interrupted and looked at Chen Yan. Brother, can't I say it? Chen Yan didn't say it directly. Instead, she looked at Chen Hao and asked. Ahem. Say it. I just don't want Mom to be sad anymore. Chen Hao knew that he couldn't hide it anymore. What? What? His body and soul were destroyed and he was revived. Sure enough, as expected, when Chen Yan briefly mentioned that Chen Nan's body and soul had been destroyed because of him, and if Chen Hao hadn't returned to revive him, Yilan, Shuemei, and Xixian all revealed shocked expressions at the same time as they looked at Chen Hao. Don't ask me how I did it. I really don't know how I did it. It must be the great world in my mind that I inherited, or the divine ability of a true immortal artifact that Senior Yi mentioned. In any case, I did it. Although it took a lot of effort. Chen Hao said. Whoosh. Yilan suddenly waved his hand. In an instant, Chen Nan, Chen Yan, Aotian, and the others were transported to another world. At the same time, they heard Yilan say, "Wait outside." Spirit of all living things. Yilan said as he stared at Chen Hao. Immortal Emperor. Then he said another word. Xue Mei, True Immortal, and Xi Xian were the only ones left. Their eyes widened in shock as they looked at Chen Hao. That's not right. That's strange. Yilan suddenly frowned and said. You are, so why is your growth so slow? Cough cough. Senior Yilan, what do you mean? Chen Hao asked cautiously. He did not expect Yilan to think that he was the reincarnation of an immortal emperor when he tried to hide it from Lu Hui. I should have thought of this earlier. The earth you were born on had no heaven and earth spirit chi, so it should be the nirvana realm. You're the spirit of all living things, and little Jade is your immortal fate. She sent you to the greater thousand worlds with heaven and earth spirit chi, which is also the immortal fate of the greater thousand worlds of ancient chaos. This fits perfectly. However, you're clearly the spirit of all living things, so why is your growth so slow? Moreover, you should have awakened many powerful divine abilities, but you don't seem to have awakened many. Strange, strange. The spirit of all living things and the immortal emperor. What's going on? Chen Hao asked. Helian Wuxi's knowledge was very limited, and Chen Hao only had a general idea. However, Yilan only knew that he had resurrected Chen Nan, but he was able to deduce that he was the spirit of all living things so quickly. It was obvious that he knew much more. The immortal emperor is the pinnacle of a cultivator, and the spirit of all living things is the rebirth of an immortal emperor after he falls into the cycle of eternal life. The prerequisite is that this immortal emperor must be the master of the greater thousand worlds. When the lifespan of his greater thousand worlds is exhausted, he must use the nirvana realm to seal the greater thousand worlds, transcending the river of fate and the cycle of the heavenly Tao. He must wait for the spirit of all living things to awaken again. Once the spirit of all living things awakens to its peak state, the greater thousand worlds that have turned into the nirvana realm will begin a new era and become a real greater thousand world again. As long as you step into the great world of CND, you'll easily find out. Master, the spirit of all living things must have an innate spirit body, right? But Chen Hao is not. That's why it's strange. An innate spirit body is not necessarily the spirit of all living things, but the spirit of all living things must be an innate spirit body, at least in terms of characteristics. In fact, it's much more powerful than an innate spirit body. The most important thing is the speed of growth. How other than the 3,000 great Taoists and those Buddhist scriptures on earth, have you awakened any other magical powers as your realm increased? I really haven't. What about supernatural powers? I really haven't. Chen Hao scratched his head and said. He had awakened one supernatural power, but did he dare to say it? His fiery eyes of truth, if he said it out loud, which woman would dare to see him? Although he would never use it under normal circumstances. Actually, Senior Yilan, I think you're mistaken. Chen Hao hesitated for a moment before finally making a decision. How can that be? All the signs point to you being the reincarnated body of the spirit of all living things. Otherwise, you would not be able to resurrect someone whose body and soul were destroyed. This is a supreme magical power that only immortal emperors can comprehend. It's just that there are many things about you that do not conform to the legends. Alright, I'll tell you the truth. In fact, I didn't resurrect Xiaonan, Du Jing, and Lin Xia. Huh? How? What do you mean? Xue Mei asked in surprise. Mother, Senior Yilan, you'll understand once you see my experience. I didn't intend to tell you before, but I'm a little embarrassed. Chen Hao directly summoned two memories and sent them to Yilan and his mother. What about me? Xi Xian immediately glared at Chen Hao when she saw that she did not have a share. Let Xi Xian have a look. Yilan said. You should already know Xi Xian's identity. She's not an outsider, and the third life is still your master. Master, don't mention her. I was so angry when I picked them up. How is she still Chenhao's master? She's almost become Chenhao's cultivation partner. This time, Chenhao directly spat out. Yilan and Shui Mei both shuddered and looked at Chenhao. Master Si Xian. How can you say that? What does this have to do with me? Besides, your third life has nothing to do with me. You can't talk nonsense. What are you getting so worked up about? Do you know me best, or do I know myself best? I can see her memories, including her thoughts, at any time. How can I not know? Chenhao was speechless. True immortal Shui Mei stared at Si Xian in shock, then at Chenhao. She didn't know what to feel. Ahem. Si Xian, are you sure? I'm sure. However, it really has nothing to do with Chenhao. It's all my fault. My third life is disappointing. Then what do you plan to do? I was going to kill her. But then I thought better of it. After I reach Hongmeng, I'll fuse with her. When I reach Dao Severing, I'll sever it. She even arrogantly told me that she'll kill me in the future. How infuriating. I won't say anything. However, let Si Xian have a look. She's one of us. Yilan said again. Master, what do you mean? Chenhao felt awkward. Yilan had said one of us too deliberately. Nothing. However, hurry up and give her a copy. I'll take a look first. Yilan said as he absorbed Chenhao's light of memories and fused it between his eyebrows. Shui Mei suppressed her laughter and began to read the light of memories as well. Give it to me? Little brat, your father calls me Master Si Xian in private. Don't be so smug. She only likes you in her third life. I can sever it at any time. Fuck. Chenhao cursed in his heart, but he still condensed a light of memories and sent it to Si Xian. After receiving the light of memories, Si Xian calmed down. Chenhao looked at the changing expressions of the three people, especially Yilan. Chenhao knew how shocking the information he sent out was to them. This time, Chenhao didn't hide anything. In fact, there was no need to. One was Yilan's controller, one was his mother, and the other was Yilan's personal disciple. Moreover, he treated her like a daughter. If they weren't trustworthy, then there really was no one he could trust. Second update. Begging for monthly votes. The number of chapters has decreased over the past 2 days, but the number of words hasn't decreased. Brothers and sisters, but monthly votes, please. Give Dark Mountain some excitement, okay? Chapter 1109. Chenhao's eyes darted back and forth between the three of them, paying close attention to the changes in their expressions. In the beginning, Yilan was the most shocked. Other than shock, her mother's expression was more gratified and excited. However, Si Xian's expression became more and more unsightly as she became more and more shocked. Her thin and curved eyebrows were knitted together. It was obvious that she was very conflicted. How can he be so powerful? How can he be so freakish? How can he be so? As Si Xian read Chenhao's 10,000 years of memories and experiences, her emotions were constantly changing. A strong sense of unease appeared in her heart. She was completely mature, and her full, round breasts were constantly rising and falling. Her emotional fluctuations were much more intense than Yilan's and Shui Mei's. Phew. So relax. It's still more comfortable when we're together. Ha. Everyone who was isolated by Yilan didn't understand what was going on, but they knew that it definitely had something to do with Chenhao reviving Chen Nan. They didn't care about that. The only thing they felt was that they were much more relaxed now. Controller Yilan and true immortal Snowplum were the reasons why they felt so pressured. In particular, apart from Chen Shui and Chen Yan, the main source of the pressure came from Shui Mei. Even though Shui Mei had restrained all of her aura, she was still her mother-in-law. As for Pan Long and the others, they didn't even have the right to speak. However, in front of Yilan, they naturally felt uncomfortable. Sister Shui, did I say something wrong? Will Big Brother blame me? Chen Yan held Chen Shui's hand and asked worriedly. He'll blame you? Little Yan, don't think too much. You're the apple of his eye. He loves you dearly. Why would he blame you? Is that true? Of course it's true. Little idiot, the highest realm of love is kinship. Kinship where blood is thicker than water is a feeling without a trace of impurity, a feeling that can't be severed. You've directly advanced to the highest realm. Chen Shui pinched Chen Yan's face and imitated Chen Hao's tone. The two of them were 90% similar in appearance. It was just that their experiences, environments, and personalities were different. It should be about reviving us. This is probably beyond Yi Lan's understanding. Boss is too awesome, Du Jing said excitedly. That's right, that's right. I feel that there's only one thing in this world that boss can't do. Other than that, there's nothing he can't do, Lan Feng said very seriously. What can't boss do? Giving birth to a child. Fuck, it's true. Haha. Let's talk about something serious. I think we were too naive before. When we came out, you all saw it. The ones gathered at the entrance were the truly powerful Hongmeng. Without comparison, I wouldn't have known. Looking at them, I feel that we are still weak. How can the outsiders be so simple? Du Jing said. Yes. Previously, when we were talking about lonely as snow, boss wanted to say something to us, but he was interrupted by teacher Si Xian. I also feel that the cultivators of the 9 Galaxies Alliance in the foreign battlefield are unlikely to be their true strength. Definitely not. Chen Shui said with a slight frown. The alliance of the 9 Galaxies is only a temporary alliance. If they want to destroy our vast universe galaxy, then what will happen after that? If they succeed, the 9 Galaxies Alliance will be established. At this time, I think that no matter which galaxy it is, they will only send out a small portion of their forces. The true experts have yet to appear. Hu Meinyang said. The final battle isn't as simple as we thought. Moreover, it only involves the Hongmeng Supremes. What about the Dao severing true immortals? Du Jing said with a frown. Nirvana space, spirit of all things, 9 lives mystic technique, 3 great immortal sutras, tree of life, Shao clan's patriarch's 10th life. You brat, you brat. Tianxi, quick, call the children out and let mother see them. Pervert. Pervert. No, I have to change my strategy. Yi Lan, Shui Mei, and Si Xian digested Chen Hao's light of memories almost at the same time. However, they all said different things. Other than shock and excitement, Yi Lan was also shocked and excited. He pointed at Chen Hao, his beard trembling. Shui Mei, on the other hand, directly asked Chen Hao to send the children out. Although he was Chen Hao's second life and was left behind passively, he was still her grandson. As for those daughters-in-law, Shui Mei didn't care at all. Just like Chen Hao now. Perhaps Chen Hao's second life would be taken seriously, but Chen Hao really didn't care. Naturally, Shui Mei wouldn't care either. Si Xian, on the other hand, glared at Chen Hao and called him a pervert. She even said that she had to change her strategy. Change what strategy? Call out Lu Hui, spirit of all things, and let old man take a look. Yi Lan said immediately. Cough cough. I'll call out Xiao Hui. Mother, those children. Why don't you go in and take a look? I mean, let's not interfere with them for the time being. Until now, I haven't paid any attention to them. That's a matter of the second life. Anyway, there won't be any problems in the great world in my mind. Alright. Mother, I'll go in later and take a look at Lu Hui first. If it weren't for her, Nan Du Jing and Lin Xia would be finished. Spirit of all things. Immortal Emperor. Tianxi, my son, you're really amazing. More than amazing? Shui Mei, let me tell you, the spirit of all things, especially the Empress, shouldn't have feelings for anyone even if they're in the eternal cycle of reincarnation. How is now? This is simply a miracle. No, I should say that Hauer might be more than I imagined. Forget it, let's not talk about this. Hauer, call her out first. Is it really that exaggerated? Si Xian muttered to herself as she looked at her excited master. Don't. I'll be shy. You're shy? You're shy? I'm really shy. Won't you give me some courage? I'm convinced. Great-grandmother, smack. Chen Hao, who was in the form of his divine consciousness, pulled the little nurse Lu Hui, who was pretending to be innocent, into his arms and kissed her fiercely. He said, Are you done? No sincerity. Be gentler and more attentive. Yuhi. Okay, I'll stop joking with you. Wait a moment, I'm changing into a Taoist robe. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. You're not allowed to peek. The little nurse said with a smug smile when she saw Chen Hao's angry expression. You're probably eager for me to peek, right? Bah, of course not. Rip. The little nurse, Lu Hui, took off her clothes and changed in front of Chen Hao. Although she didn't take off all her clothes and her undergarments were the same, Chen Hao was still dumbfounded. Fuck, so she didn't want him to peek, because she wanted him to look at her casually. There was no need to be sneaky. Okay, that's enough. Chen Hao suppressed the throbbing in his heart, and disappeared in front of the little nurse with twitching lips. Immediately, the little nurse felt like she was surrounded by an immortal light, and directly escaped from between Chen Hao's eyebrows. Mom, I'm Xiaohui. Mom, you're so beautiful. Grandpa Yi, how are you? Sister Xixian, how are you? You're so beautiful too. The moment Lu Hui came out, the three people stared at her with bright eyes. Although the little girl's face was red, she smiled and walked to Snow Plum Blossom True Immortal's side. She hugged Snow Plum Blossom True Immortal's arm, and even called her mom. For a long time, Long Ting was the most thick-skinned person. However, compared to the little nurse, Lu Hui, she was a few streets behind. Mom? Mom, that's what mom means. Chen Hao said with black lines on his forehead. You called me sister? Xixian pointed at her own nose and said in surprise. Grandpa? This aura. Celestial Emperor. Spirit of all things. No, I'm not wrong. The peak of the late-stage heaven celestial stage. How long has it been? Yilan's mouth twitched. Strictly speaking, he should call this little girl senior. What should he call her? But could he be strict? Where could he put his old face? Chen Hao. What should I call you? Lu Hui pouted when she saw the two people staring at her. Then, she ran to Chen Hao's side and hugged Chen Hao's arm as she asked in a low voice. Just call me Senior Yilan and Teacher Xixian. Chen Hao said as he patted his head. Ahem. Yilan coughed awkwardly. He wanted to say something, but he realized he had nothing to say in the face of a reincarnated celestial emperor. Senior Yilan, Celestial Emperor. Spirit of all things. Are you talking about me? Before Yilan could say anything, Chen Hao said directly, No. Mom, look, your son always bullies me. It's as if he's afraid people will find out. Senior Yilan, am I very powerful? Will I be very powerful in the future? That's enough, Senior Yilan. Mom, I think I should send her back. Chen Hao did not wait for the little nurse's explanation. He directly sent her into the great world in his mind. Yilan, Xuemei, and Xixian looked at each other, but they did not stop him. Even though the other party was just a little girl now, because they knew her true identity, the three of them couldn't relax. Celestial Emperor. The pinnacle of cultivators. It was an existence that only existed in ancient legends. Yilan was certain that there was no celestial emperor in the great world of Xiandi. No one had ever returned from the celestial emperor's path. This is a treasure, your greatest treasure. It definitely surpasses the treasure you inherited from a true immortal. You can't be so casual with her in the future. Yilan let out a long sigh and cautiously said to Chen Hao. It's fine. So what if she's a celestial emperor? Even if she's a celestial emperor, it's a matter of the future. Moreover, can't I become a celestial emperor? Yilan was speechless. The reincarnated empress had fallen in love with Chen Hao. Moreover, she seemed to be dead set on him. How could he explain this? Moreover, although there were many suspicious points about Chen Hao and he was different from the legendary soul of all things, if he could handle a female celestial emperor, how could he be simple? Xixian suddenly said. Chen Hao, let me in. I want to take a look at the place where my third anima is. You want the 3 great immortal sutras? I'll pass them to you directly. Oh, and the 9 lives profound art. I have the complete one here. I'll give it to you as well. Chen Hao looked at Xixian and frowned. Xixian was an immortal legend in the vast universe galaxy. In the hearts of many cultivators, she was an unfathomable goddess who could only be worshipped. However, in Chen Hao's eyes, that was not the case at all. From the time they met until now, she had already caused Chen Hao to vomit blood several times. She dared to say anything, and she dared to say anything. Moreover, she faintly expressed her unwillingness and confidence that she could easily sever her third anima. This made Chen Hao a little unhappy. More importantly, She was flaunting her seniority in front of him, using his father to speak. All kinds of displeasure caused Chen Hao to have thoughts of making things difficult for her. Although Chen Hao knew that doing so might cause some kind of consequence, he didn't care that much. So generous? We're on the same side. No need to be polite. Chi-Chi. As Chen Hao spoke, he directly raised 2 bright balls of light. Senior Yilan, do you want them? Yes. I want them all. Although I can't cultivate the 9 lives profound art. If I study it, I'll definitely be able to comprehend something. At the very least, I'll have more confidence in restraining that old fart. I need the 3 great immortal sutras, even more. Yilan said without the slightest trace of politeness. Chen Hao didn't keep the full text of the Grand Tao a secret from Yilan and the others. However, even Yilan could only comprehend a limited amount. Now, with the most basic explanation of the 3 great immortal sutras, Yilan believed that she might have a new understanding and breakthrough. Chi-Chi. This time, Chen Hao directly raised 4 balls of light. 2 of them were given to Yilan, while the other 2 floated to his mother. Senior Yilan, I would like to ask you for a favor. Oh? What do you need my help with? Yilan asked curiously. It's about Hu Mainyang. I don't want her to be the saintess, and I won't let her return to the Misty Rain Tower. Even if she's the tower master, Chen Hao said. Is that so? Yilan frowned slightly then said. If it was someone else it wouldn't be easy. After all, this concerns the Misty Rain Tower's inheritance. However, with the 9 lives legacy, it's not difficult. Give me a strand of Hu Mainyang's essence blood. Although I won't be able to condense a true Khanate Dao embryo, I'm still confident. Si Xian has just comprehended the 4th anima, so we can begin. It won't take long. I'll talk to the Misty Rain Tower's Tower Master. There shouldn't be any problems. A Dao manifestation immortal fruit, an endless supreme grade spirit spring. When the time comes, I'll give them the Misty Rain Tower. At that time, the inheritance of the Misty Rain Tower's ancestral master will also be removed from Hu Mainyang's body and given to the Misty Rain Tower, Chen Hao said. Alright, that's definitely not a problem. Kid, your supreme grade spirit spring is no ordinary supreme grade spirit spring. Oh right, give me that old fart's 10th life golden dragon. Oh, what do you want that for? I was going to let little Nan and the others vent their anger. What's the use of venting your anger on him? This battle will definitely evolve into a showdown between Dao severing true immortals. I'll use his 10th life to prepare a big gift for him. Emph. Yilan's eyes flashed with a hint of sharpness as he said. They had been mortal enemies for hundreds of millions of years. From this, one could see how much Yilan hated the Shao clan's patriarch. As Yilan spoke, he waved his hand and set up laws in the surrounding space that shocked Chen Hao. Can you give me a monthly ticket, please? Chapter 11:11. Okay. Chen Hao summoned the golden dragon whose spirit had completely collapsed. Mother, when did Father and Master Han Mei go to the great world of Xiandi? At this time, Chen Hao asked the question that he had wanted to ask for a long time. Not long after Shao Nan's accident. Originally, we agreed to go together. After Shao Nan's accident, although Mother didn't feel what exactly happened, Mother felt that something might have happened to Shao Nan. My heart was uneasy, so I changed my decision and didn't go with them. Your father didn't expect that you could directly return to our ancient chaos. He also didn't expect that the main purpose of him and sister going to the great world of Xiandi was to find you. Oh, that's right. Senior Yilan, Senior Zhuo Ziyuan of the Hunyuan sect of the chaotic boundless world once told Atoda that the ancient chaos boundless world is a forbidden area for the cultivators of other boundless worlds. No one is allowed to enter. And the great world of Xiandi is a forbidden area for the cultivators of our ancient chaos boundless world. My father and Master Han Mei went there. Chen Hao looked at Yilan and said solemnly. Alas. The fact is indeed so. But you don't have to worry. I have completely erased Wuliang and Han Mei's imprint of the ancient chaos boundless world. As long as they don't expose themselves, no one will know that they are from ancient chaos. Moreover, I have an agreement with them. About 100,000 years, I will go to the periphery of the great world of Xiandi to pick them up. Yilan said. Why is it like this? Although our ancient chaos-boundless world is vast, under the situation of 10 galaxies, we are far from being as strong as the cultivators of the chaotic boundless world. Why is the great world of CND a forbidden area for us? Why is our ancient chaos-boundless world a forbidden area for the other boundless worlds? Danger zone, forbidden zone. Yilan's expression suddenly became much more gloomy. He muttered. Wuliang also asked the same thing, but I can't say it. Since you asked, then I'll tell you what I said to your father again. Firstly, if you want to step into the great world of CND in the future, you must cut off all connections with the ancient chaos universe. I will also erase all your imprints in the ancient chaos universe. Secondly, when going to the great world of CND through the Milky Way tunnel, one must break the wall in advance and enter the great world of CND from the chaotic space. One must not enter directly through the Milky Way tunnel. Thirdly, after entering the great world of CND, you are not allowed to tell anyone that you are a cultivator from the ancient chaos boundless world. Otherwise, even you will die without a doubt. You may be the spirit of all creation and cannot truly die, but you will undoubtedly begin a new cycle of reincarnation. Yilan stared at Chunhao and said, Don't ask me why. I can't say, and I can't say. The great world of CND is a land of death for us ancient chaos. As for why the ancient chaos universe is a forbidden land, I only found out from Brother Zhua after hearing from Edo Tai. Perhaps that is the protection of our ancient chaos universe. Alright. Senior Yilan, since ancient times has our ancient chaos universe been dominated by 10 galaxies? Chunhao asked again. This time, to Chunhao's surprise, Yilan's expression became even more serious. He took a deep breath and said, No, don't ask anymore. If one day, you can step into the path of the Celestial Emperor, you will understand everything. I look forward to that day's arrival. Previously, I did not have any hope for you. But today, with the appearance of the spirit of all creation, perhaps you have a chance. Senior Yilan, it's not just a possibility, right? I won't say, at least Xiaohui should have no problem. It's not as simple as you think. Although the spirit of all creation in the nirvana space, and the spirit of all creation in the reincarnation of the Celestial Emperor, are very, very powerful and destined to be very, very powerful in the future. Whether or not they can step onto the peak of martial arts is still unknown. The path of the Celestial Emperor, the spirit of all creation, although rare, is not unique. It can't be, right? Celestial Emperors are immortal. In the ancient times when the Celestial Emperors disappeared, where did the many Celestial Emperors go? In the vast starry sky, the endless galaxy, and the many greater thousand realms, the reincarnation of the spirit of all creation was perhaps their final destination. Now countless years have passed, and even as powerful as the great world of CND, not a single Celestial Emperor has been born. Or rather, not a single Celestial Emperor has returned. Quasi-emperors control everything, and can do whatever they want. Alright, you don't have to think too much. The current you is merely the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland. This time, I purposely sent Xixian into the ancient chaos domain to find you in the extraterritorial battlefield. Apart from meeting you in the extraterritorial battlefield, there's a more important reason. What's the reason? Chunhao asked. To step into the Hongming domain of the great world of CND, and ascend to the Hongming domain. Fortunately, Xixian arrived in time, and you haven't triggered the heavenly punishment. You'll have to enter sooner or later. With your talent, the sooner you enter, the better. The Hongming domain of the great world of CND is the strongest domain. The concept of Hongming Qi is much stronger there. After refining the Hongming domain to a perfect state, it's also stronger. Many of the top geniuses of the greater thousand realms completed their cultivation there. If I had been able to enter the great world of CND as a Grand Luo back then, perhaps I wouldn't be like this now. I can't let you walk down my old path. Senior, than my father. Your father is indeed a rare genius in the vast universe galaxy, but only in the vast universe galaxy in ancient chaos. If he entered the Hongming domain of the great world of CND, I'm afraid he wouldn't even have a chance to come out. But you're different. Even Little Snow, Mei Nyang Xiao Wu, and the others are stronger than your father back then. This is the decision the old man made when he saw Empress Dowager Ito. I know you still have doubts in your heart. I'm asking you to do this because I need your help after you've truly matured. However, this is also the path you must take to reach the peak. Senior, you don't have to say anything more. I understand. However, in this final battle, Proud Heaven and I will at most play a small role in the battle in the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. Once the Severing Dao True Immortals make a move, I'm afraid we won't be of any use. I'm very curious. At this point, why haven't the Severing Dao True Immortals made a move? As long as a few of them make a surprise attack, they'll be able to kill countless Hongmeng supremacies. Chen Hao said. It's not as simple as you think. Once the Severing Dao True Immortals enter the extraterritorial battlefield, it'll be a whole new world. Those below the Grand Mist Supremacy realm won't even be able to see each other, Xi Xian said. A whole new world? Yes. It's the same entrance, but it's a different space. There aren't many Severing Dao True Immortals in the 10 Directions galaxies. Although there aren't many of us humans, the higher the bloodline talent, the greater the advantage we have. Even Old Man alone is enough to guard the entrance to the Severing Dao True Immortals. No one can even dream of entering the vast universe galaxy. The most important thing is the battle between the Hongmeng supremacies. The Hongmeng supremacies are the foundation. If too many of them die, my strength will be severely affected. At that time, it won't be easy to defend. Although the vast universe galaxy won't fall, it's inevitable that the people will be plundered. The resources will be divided by the enemy. If we want to rise again, it'll be thousands of years. Therefore, I hope you won't be too conservative in your battle. I'll do my best, Chen Hao said in a low voice. Xi Xian wanted to say something, but when she thought of Chen Hao's experience in the light of memory, she didn't say anything. Chen Hao's aura was only slightly stronger than Itota's in the early stages of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. He would only be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with her when he ascended to the Hongmeng Supremacy realm, or even the middle stages. Originally, she didn't think Chen Hao would be of much use, but now that she knew Chen Hao's background, she knew that she had underestimated this guy from the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland. Chen Hao, Yilan, Xi Xian and his mother talked for a full 4 hours. After they agreed on a strategy and grasped all the information they wanted, they finally ended the conversation. After leaving a few instructions to his mother, Xi Xian led AOT on, and the others back to the extraterritorial battlefield. Chi. In the vast battlefield outside the human territory, the alien armies were moving towards the entrance of the human territory in an orderly manner. When they were only 10 days away from the entrance of the human territory, they all stopped and waited for the armies of the 9 galaxies to meet up with them. The human cultivators of vast universe galaxy all retreated to the entrance of the human territory, preparing for the final showdown. As time passed, whether it was the cultivators of the 9 galaxy alliances, or vast universe galaxy, they all became depressed. Everyone knew that countless people were destined to die in this battle. Perhaps they would be one of them. But no one had a way out. As long as a cultivator of vast universe galaxy came here, they were already prepared to die. This was a battle to protect vast universe galaxy. They had no choice. The command of the ruler was the heavenly Tao. Even if some people didn't want to die, there was no way to retreat now. The cultivators of the 9 galaxy alliances were the same. In particular, those who were destined to be cannon fodder felt even more despair. But who could resist? They were in an even worse mood than the human cultivators. This was because if it weren't for the ambitions of the rulers of the 9 galaxy alliances, there would be no need for such a battle to occur. For better or worse, the human cultivators were forced to fight and the rulers were forced to give orders. At least some people were willing to sacrifice their lives for their homeland. This is your token, Vice Commander. How many people do you plan on bringing? Besides Aotion, I can choose 1,000 masters for you to choose from. Besides these 1,000 people, I can also give you 3 legions. This is the maximum limit. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to defend this place. At the core of the human territory's entrance, Xi Xian, Chen Hao, and the other members of Aotion returned. Si Xian looked at Chen Hao and spoke with a sound transmission. No need. Chen Hao sent a voice transmission. Too little? How about you defend here and I'll bring 1,000 people and 3 legions out. What we want now is an overall battle record that minimizes the losses of our cultivators, while also being able to defend the entrance. Si Xian frowned. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. Chapter 11-12. This battle will be very difficult, and countless people are destined to die. Actually, I really don't want to show off, but now I have to say, I alone should be enough. What do you mean? Don't forget about the Tao Manifestation Immortal Fruit Tree, the Tree of Life, and the Skyriver Galaxy's power. The Legion won't be able to do anything if they follow me. It's better for them to stay here and fight the enemy together. As for the members of Proud Heavens, I'll leave them with you as well. I only have one request. Pan Long, Lan Feng, Du Jing, Xiao Nan and Edo Ta. As for the other members of the Legion, Du Jing doesn't care. As for Pan Long, Lan Feng, Xiao Nan and Edo Ta, Teacher Si Xian, please arrange for more women with good looks, temperament and character. Also consider their aptitudes. Oh, Pan Long's tastes are a bit special. What do you mean? It's a little sad to be my brothers. They're not young anymore. They can't all be single, right? This is also a warning from your third anima. You're still in the mood to play at a time like this. To me, this is more important than the heavens. It's not a game. You. Fine, I can't be bothered with you. Are you sure you can do anything by yourself? I might be a little weak in a duel, but when it comes to killing people, I'm not bragging, but Teacher Si Xian, you're 10 streets away from me. My nickname, the Godly Exterminator, is not for nothing. Chen Hao transmitted his voice, which was filled with confidence and arrogance. Little brat, you're really arrogant. Even your father doesn't dare to say that in front of me. Please don't use my father to show off how old you are, okay? It's strength, not old. How am I old? Forget it. When are you leaving? Now. After Chen Hao finished speaking, he looked at Chen Shui and the others and nodded slightly. Be careful, we'll wait for you. Chen Shui said softly. Okay. Chen Hao replied. Then his figure disappeared into thin air under the gazes of everyone. The token. Just as Chen Hao disappeared, Si Xian, who had a trace of shock on her face, suddenly exclaimed in shock as she looked in the direction Chen Hao disappeared. The token was the key to transmitting information and counting the battle results. But Chen Hao actually. This was obviously left behind by Chen Hao. Teacher Si Xian, we can contact him at any time, Hu Meinyang said. This kid, he doesn't even want luck to? What's the use of contacting him? He needs the token to record to send him back to us. Teacher Si Xian, my boss doesn't seem to lack this bit of luck. That's right. I'm just afraid that boss won't leave a single one for us. That's too miserable. Fine, I'd better go comprehend the 3 great immortal scriptures. 9 to Hongmeng to Hongmeng to comprehend, to tells, s to be to say. TSS to be twos really? Of course. I have a bit of the undying bloodline, and my cultivation is high, right? Naturally, it'll be easier for me than you guys. 9 lives, 9 people, or even 10 lives, 10 people. When the time comes, it'll be great. Fuck, isn't that expression too perverted? No wonder I heard that you. All of you scram. Chi. All of a sudden, Si Xian unleashed a few terrifying and mysterious immortal beams, blasting Edo Ta, Du Jing, Pan Long, and Lan Feng far away. Chen Nan smiled faintly and left quickly. These are their tokens. Help them choose. Once you're done, get them to move to the edge and don't let me see them, Si Xian said as she handed the tokens to the girls. The girls didn't show it on the surface, but they were trying hard not to laugh in their hearts. The undying legend always gave people the impression of being calm, but in front of Aotian and the others, it didn't seem like that at all. Especially when they heard from Du Jing and the others that she had quarreled with the third life, they felt that it was completely different from the legend. Of course, they knew that it was because they had reached a higher level. Otherwise, the legend would always be a legend in their hearts. Quick. You guys are too slow. Sorry, we've already done our best. We only have 3 years. 3 years later, the attack will begin. If we can't reach our destination, we'll die. Do you guys really want to die? Can we really live? We're just the first wave of cannon fodder. There's no difference between dying in battle and not dying in time. The difference is huge. If we're executed, what battle records do we have? If we die in battle, we can still win some rewards for our sex and juniors. Enter my mental world. Don't worry, there's no point in me devouring you guys. We're all going to die anyway. As an alliance, we only need to do our best in battle and try to get as many battle records as possible. At the very least, we'll earn some benefits for our sex and future generations. You're right. An alliance is indeed an alliance, but you'll also have battle records if you devour us, right? Do you think we're idiots? I'm really speechless. Fine, since that's the case, don't blame me for not waiting for you guys. 9 cultivators from 9 different galaxies were arguing as they flew at high speed. These 9 people were the leaders of the 9 galaxies of an alliance army. In order to save time, the cultivators from their respective galaxies had already entered their mental worlds. Since they were strong, they could fly forward. However, other than the leader of the tyrants, the speed of the other 8 people was still slower. It was very difficult for them to reach the gathering place near the entrance of the human territory within the stipulated time. However, it was absolutely impossible for them to enter the mental world of the leader of the tyrants. They simply couldn't trust their teammates. Why don't I bring you guys over? Suddenly, a voice sounded in the 9 people's ears. Who's there? Chi. Boom boom boom. At this moment, the 9 people's hair stood on end. Without any hesitation, they frantically activated their energy and tried to release the cultivators from their respective galaxies in their mental worlds. In order to hurry on with their journey, it was undoubtedly a dangerous thing to do. However, they had already received news that the human cultivators had retreated to their nests, and it was unlikely that they would encounter them. Therefore, they were relieved to release the cultivators from their respective galaxies into their mental worlds and hurry on with their journey. However, they didn't expect that someone would appear directly beside them at this time. Needless to say, it was definitely not one of their own. How could they dare to hesitate? However, whoosh. What made them fearful was that the boundless pressure and the extremely profound Tao laws directly poured down from the 9 heavens. Their spiritual altars were instantly sealed. Don't panic. Aren't you going to the entrance of the human territory? Don't worry, I'll bring all of you there. Well, not only to the entrance of the human territory, but also to the vast universe galaxy for sightseeing. A faint voice floated in everyone's ears, and a figure quietly appeared. It was as if he had been waiting in place for a long time. There wasn't even a trace of spatial fluctuation. Killing God Chen Hao? The 9 people widened their eyes almost instantly. Extreme fear rose directly from the depths of their hearts. Don't waste your energy. It's useless. You won't be able to send any message out. Chen Hao said calmly with a smile when he saw the flickering glabella of the 9 people. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. You're just Daoyuo Jingxian. How can you block? What's that? The leader of the tyrants, who was the strongest among them, looked at the surrounding void in horror as he spoke. The pitch-black ring of light that could swallow everything in the world was like a huge net that enveloped killing God Chen Hao and the 9 people. It was a type of energy that they had never heard of before. It seemed to be an energy that isolated all qi. In just a moment, the 9 people knew that this was definitely a mysterious energy that surpassed Hongmeng Qi. Hongmeng Qi could shield heaven's secrets, and this pitch-black light shield was many times more mysterious than Hongmeng Qi. Chen Hao, hurry up. I can't hold on any longer. Right at this moment, a clear and melodious voice that was pleasing to the ear and carried a trace of sweetness sounded out from between Chen Hao's brows. You can't hold on any longer? All right. Go in and think about it. I hope you're still in the mood to think. Tsk. Green tentacles suddenly extended from Chen Hao's glabella and instantly wrapped around the 9 people. and pulled them into Chen Hao's glabella. Ah! Tsk tisk tsk. The 9 people immediately let out horrified screams accompanied by an endless pressure. The Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree, and the green seed that Zhou Qinglong had given to Chen Hao, which was also the tree of life that Yilan had called the tree of life, had taken root and sprouted beside the Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree. Under Chen Hao's control, it frantically devoured the 9 people's life force, essence, spirit, and inner yuan. In just a moment, the 9 people were sucked dry except for their soul consciousness. What made the 9 people even more terrified was that the tentacles of the Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree seemed to be able to penetrate the 9 heavens and 10 earths. It directly pierced into their soul dwellings, and then easily broke through their mind worlds. Endless tentacles spread out, and the cultivators who were in the mind worlds of the 9 people screamed in horror and cursed their leader. These people thought that their leader was the one who had attacked them. Unfortunately, they had no power to resist in the mind worlds of others. Not long after, each of them became a living dead with only a wisp of soul consciousness left. None of them died. Done. Qi. A light flashed between Chen Hao's glabella and the little nurse, Lu Hui, appeared in front of Chen Hao. She stretched out her hands and slapped Chen Hao. Clap clap. Chen Hao shook his head with a smile and high-fived her. How is it? I'm awesome, right? Lu Hui said proudly. Awesome. Very awesome. I can't understand it at all. Come on. Be gentle, be attentive, and take a long time. The little nurse stood on her tiptoes and hugged Chen Hao's neck with both hands. She closed her eyes and lifted her small face. As she spoke softly, she leaned towards Chen Hao. Chen Hao was speechless and wanted to tease her. However, when he saw the little nurse's face turn slightly red, her breathing and heartbeat quicken, and her eyelashes fluttering, Chen Hao could not say anything. It was a simple kiss, but every time it happened, it was like a first kiss. What kind of feeling was this? 2 chapters, 6,000 words. Next week, Wu Shan will be attending the Qidian annual meeting. It will take 4 to 5 days to travel back and forth, so I won't have time to write. Therefore, I won't explode for the next few days. 2 chapters a day, about 6,000 words. After persevering for more than a month, Wu Shan will have to adjust. If you have a monthly ticket, please support Wu Shan. Thank you. Chapter 11-13. Her pink and translucent lips. The corners of her lips curled up in a smile, 2 small dimples, and her beautiful hair fluttering in the wind in front of her forehead, along with the endless feelings that rippled out from the depths of her heart, formed a beautiful picture. Sweet beauty, intoxicating love. Chen Hao's mind seemed to be touched by some kind of emotion, and he was actually mesmerized by it. In a trance, for some reason, Chen Hao, who was clearly very beautiful and very sweet, read a kind of sadness from the young nurse's pretty face, sad beauty. All along, the young nurse Lu Hui had extorted kisses, and Chen Hao had either been perfunctory, passionate, or in heat. The only thing he hadn't been moved and affectionate was his kiss. Chen Hao, hurry up, I'm very tight. After waiting for a long time for Chen Hao's kiss, the young nurse, who had held her breath, finally couldn't help but urge him. Before she finished speaking, Chen Hao gently kissed her lips. A gentle kiss, a soft kiss. It couldn't be said to be affectionate, but it was moving. He thought of the young nurse in the big world of his mind, constantly comforting his second life, crying with him, in pain with him. He thought of the young nurse, in order to resurrect Chen Nan, Du Jing, and Lin Xia, using the inherited divine ability, time and time again until she collapsed to the ground, and only asked for a kiss from him. He thought of the young nurse, in order to save him, using all of her power to activate the light of nirvana to block the world-extinguishing thunder punishment, and fainted. When she woke up, she also only asked for a kiss from him. Every time, he had to remind himself to be gentle, to be more attentive, and to take a longer time. Every time, she felt like she was experiencing the first kiss of a young girl. She gave all of her passion, forgot everything, and only kissed by him. Perhaps it was because he read that kind of sad beauty, or perhaps it was because his heart was touched. This time, Chen Hao didn't perfunctorily, didn't have any distracting thoughts, quietly, gently, and attentively kissed those delicate lips. He kissed gently, and kissed with all of his heart. Heaven and earth suddenly disappeared at this moment. In Chen Hao's heart, there was only her left. And she had always only had him. She forgot that this was the chaotic battlefield outside, and forgot the passage of time. A long kiss. Gradually, the two of them became intoxicated. A mysterious aura, like the fusion of souls, naturally passed through their lips and tongues and rippled into the lake of their hearts. The two of them hugged each other and kissed deeply. It was as if they were shuttling through the endless galaxy and the vast starry sky. Sometimes, they would pass through the nine-colored light that was like a nebula, and they would see the stars. In the deep and beautiful night sky, the stars grew bigger and smaller. So beautiful. Chen Hao, do you see it? Lu Hui asked softly in Chen Hao's heart as their souls intertwined. Shoo! Chen Hao sighed softly. As if he had entered an illusory space, he stared straight at the gradually growing full moon, as well as the azure planet not far from the full moon. Moon Earth. Voila! Just as it became clearer and clearer, and Chen Hao was certain that what he saw in the illusion was the moon and earth, the image suddenly disappeared like a mirage. Ah! Lu Hui screamed. Their lips parted. Chen Hao stared blankly at Lu Hui. The two of them did not move at all. It's yours. What's mine? The illusion just now was so beautiful. Was that the fusion of souls? Your original body finally fell in love with me. The young nurse raised her chin, with a little girl's pride, and clenched her fist in front of her chest. One more time, Chen Hao suddenly said. He pulled the proud young nurse Lu Hui into his arms and kissed her. The young nurse was only surprised for a moment. Soon, she excitedly immersed herself in Chen Hao's first kiss. But, no matter how attentive Chen Hao was, the scene just now did not appear again. Xiao Hui, how about, we roll in the sheets? Lu Hui was frightened by Chen Hao's words. She nervously widened her eyes and said, No. We just started dating. Isn't it too fast? Besides, you haven't fused with me yet. You can rest assured that I'll be yours sooner or later. If you really want, I'll help you. Chen Hao's eyes widened. He looked at the young nurse who was so nervous that she spoke incoherently, but what she said was bold, hot and open-minded. It would make any man be filled with reverie and be touched by her words. But I can only use this one. Seeing that Chen Hao was staring at her without saying anything, Lu Hui mustered up her courage and said. At the same time, she reached out her small hand to Chen Hao. Pa. Chen Hao did not know whether to laugh or cry. He slapped the young nurse's hand away. Don't. Chen Hao, if you bite, it'll be so embarrassing. I'm sorry. Pfft. Chen Hao finally could not help but burst out laughing. He said, All right, what are you thinking in that little head of yours? Am I that kind of person? Go in, I'll start working. Phew. That's good. I've already decided. As long as you like it, I'll reluctantly do it. Are you serious? I'm just teasing you. In your dreams. The young nurse giggled. As she spoke, she turned into a stream of light and disappeared between Chen Hao's eyebrows. What a little demon. Chen Hao shook his head and touched his crotch. Damn it, Chen Hao, who thought that he had already reached the point where he could control himself, was actually teased by this little girl to the point where he had an internal fire. The environment where the souls merge must be the memory hidden in the depths of Xiao Hui's soul. At least I've never experienced that kind of space travel. It can't be my Earth Moon. Could it be? Xiao Hui, the female immortal emperor, is the soul of all living things related to Earth? Or she came from Earth? Then why is the environment close to the moon? Chen Hao thought to himself. He could not help but think of his memories from Earth. Why was the back of the moon densely packed with craters, but the front of the moon was as flat as a mirror? Why were those craters of the same depth regardless of size? The sun's gravitational force on the moon was 254 times that of Earth's. But why was the moon still obediently orbiting Earth and becoming Earth's satellite? These were all phenomena that Li Yuan could not explain back then. There were too many mysteries like this. The current Chen Hao was no longer the him of the past. The so-called science was just a shackle. These unexplainable things were the fated cultivation world and the fated mythological era. There were too many things that people on Earth thought were absurd and unexplainable. Now, Chen Hao could easily find the direction, but if he wanted to solve the mystery, he could only return to Earth again. Earth. What kind of existence is it? The endless galaxy, the thousands of worlds, what do they have to do with Earth? The little nurse, Lu Hui, was undoubtedly the spirit of all living things that had fallen into the eternal cycle of reincarnation. However, the moment their souls merged, the memories hidden in the depths of her soul were triggered. They were closely related to Earth. This made Chen Hao vaguely feel that Lu Hui was very likely to come from the cultivation world that had disappeared from Earth. However, Lu Hui was the spirit of all living things in the Sky River sector. That was the space of Nirvana, which used to be the greater world. Lu Hui, the spirit of all living things, used to be the ruler of the Empress. The greater world of ancient chaos. The great world of Xiandi, the forbidden land, the path to the immortal emperor. Earth. Is it related? Amidst the confusion, Chen Hao felt that he had grasped something in reality, but it also felt like he had not grasped anything. Everything would have to be verified and explored as his strength increased. Shaking his head, Chen Hao temporarily threw the confusion in his heart to the back of his mind. This was not a problem that he could figure out now. It was useless to think too much about it. Whoosh! In a flash, Chen Hao's great teleportation technique, which he had comprehended a trace of the law of time and space, was instantly activated. If Xixian saw Chen Hao's speed, she would definitely be extremely surprised. To be exact, even a Dao-severing perfected immortal could only sigh and feel that they were far inferior. After comprehending the Hongming Qi and refining a trace of the Great World Mark, Chen Hao had vaguely grasped the law of time and space. This was the real reason for his soaring speed. Chen Hao believed that if he finished refining the Great World Mark and condensed the embryonic form of the Great World, he would definitely go further. After advancing to the Hongmeng realm, he would definitely be more terrifying. However, because Chen Hao already possessed the Great World in his mind, he was extremely careful when tempering the Great World imprint. Because of his special situation, he really did not know what would happen after the tempering was completed. After meeting Yilan this time, Chen Hao directly stopped tempering the Great World imprint. It was fine if he did not know, but now that he knew, there was no reason for Chen Hao to continue advancing in the 10-direction territory. The Hongmeng territory of the Great World of Xiandi was the strongest Hongmeng territory. Naturally, he would have to advance there. After all, Chen Hao had to set foot on the Great World of Xiandi. Moreover, Chen Wuliang and Han Mei perfected immortal had already gone there. Beep beep beep. At the entrance of the human territory, Chen Shui, who was sitting cross-legged and immersed in cultivation, suddenly opened her eyes. There's news. After reading the news through someone, Chen Shui went directly to Xixian and told her the content. A general attack in 3 years? That's fast. That's all. That's all for now, Chen Shui said. He didn't take any action? He didn't do anything when I asked him to disturb the alien army? This. How didn't say. Let me ask? No need. You're communicating through something in the Sky River territory? Xixian looked at Chen Shui and asked. Yes. Xiao Shui, do you have more? Give me one so I can contact him directly. This. I really don't have any. He's in charge of everything. Then can you ask one of the Proud Heavens members to give me one? This. Teacher Xixian, once this thing is bound, it's unique and can't be changed. Unless he personally unbinds it. Then forget it. Tell him that if he can't complete the mission, he'll be held accountable. Okay, but, Teacher Xixian, you really don't have to worry. The Alliance of the 9 Galaxies hasn't even used its full strength yet. It's meaningless to launch a general attack in 3 years. Since he said he can do it, there won't be a problem. Blind trust is not good. Chen Shui looked at Xixian's expression and smiled. She did not say anything else and returned to her place, once again immersing herself in cultivation. Chapter 11-14. Old Woman Eating Persimmons. In order not to alarm the 9 Galaxies for the time being, Chen Hao was now specifically looking for soft targets. Chen Hao temporarily avoided all the large armies that were advancing together. He only looked for those who were in a hurry and had been absorbed into the mind of their leader. After all, the range of Lu Hui's light of nirvana was too limited, and the time it could last was too short. If Chen Hao wanted to silently control the enemy without killing them, it would undoubtedly be very difficult. Especially when facing an expert with a powerful soul, it was simply impossible. Chen Hao's mission was to attack and deter. In the name of Death God Chen Hao, with cruel and bloody strength, with thunderous means, he would destroy some of the armies. As long as he could disrupt the morale of the 9 galaxies, his mission would be considered complete. But now, Chen Hao had been out for half a year, but he was like a ghost. The armies of the 9 galaxies did not know of his arrival. Of course, they also did not know that behind them, there were dozens of small armies that had quietly disappeared. 2 years passed in a hurry. Still no news. Commander Xi Xian couldn't sit still any longer. She went to Chen Shui's side and asked, "No, but I feel like this is the calm before the storm." Calm. I think it will be calm until the war breaks out, and there is no news. Little Shui, I don't want to criticize you, but if you are infatuated with someone, you can't be infatuated with him to the point of blindness. Ask him, what is he doing? Although the 9 galaxies did not send out their real forces, but after estimating our strength, they sent out enough troops. If we can't disrupt their morale, when the time comes, we will inevitably suffer a lot more casualties. I asked, what did he say? He said he will give us a big surprise. Teacher Xi Xian, he is always like this. After experiencing this, you will understand and then get used to it. Understand, get used to it? Fine. I'm really. Whatever. Unable to continue, Xi Xian returned to the core of the human cultivators and sat down cross-legged. She had always been as calm as an ancient well, but now her chest was heaving up and down. When she swept her divine sense over the members of Proud Heaven, she was speechless. They were all completely immersed in cultivation, and didn't feel the slightest bit of pressure from a battle. Although this could stabilize the morale of the human cultivators, Xi Xian felt that this was not a symbol of strength, but rather, heartless. Even if this batch of people from the Alliance of 9 Galaxies were cannon fodder, they couldn't just ignore them like that, right? In any case, they weren't pigs. They had estimated the strength of the human race. At the very least, he had to have a goal and achieve a certain effect. 1 year. You still have 1 year. Stinking brat, if you can't do it, see how I'll deal with you. Half a year, it's time to start. In the void, Chen Hao, who was flashing like a ghost, traveled thousands of miles in the blink of an eye. After flying for several days, he still didn't get any benefits. Finally, he stopped and murmured, Chen Hao, are you finally going to officially start the war? I seem to be able to trigger divine punishment. Let me go out and try it? The young nurse suddenly said, Divine punishment? Didn't you advance to celestial immortal silently? Chen Hao asked in surprise. Before this, when Chen Hao met Yilan, he had also asked this question. Yilan couldn't answer. He could only guess that it was either because the spirit of all things in the reincarnation of the immortal emperor didn't have any restrictions on the realm, nor was it punished by the heavenly Tao, or because it was in Chen Hao's mind. Yes, but now that I'm connected to the outside world, I feel like I can trigger it. What kind of divine punishment will you trigger? It shouldn't be bad. Well, we can't waste it. We can use it at a critical moment. Quick, there are still 4 months before we can arrive. We only have 2 months to rest and reorganize. Yes. A small army of thousands of people was like a swarm of locusts shuttling rapidly through the void. Powerful auras condensed together, like a steel torrent crushing down. If such a troop was not in the ancient chaos Great Thousand World, but in the space of the 10 major galaxies, it would certainly be astonishing to the extreme. Grand Miss Supremes, in the galaxy, other than the top sects and some powerful forces, ordinary cultivators wouldn't even see one. Who would have thought that there would be so many Grand Miss Supremes in the extraterritorial battlefield? Thousands of people were just a drop in the ocean. How are you? What? Fuck. A little beauty of the celestial immortal stage of the human race? What made the army stop abruptly in surprise was that a girl with unusually clever and cunning eyes, a fiery and seductive figure, and an extremely beautiful face, with a charming smile and 2 attractive dimples, appeared out of thin air in front of them. The appearance of this girl, who looked more like a little Lolita in their eyes, was already surprising. What was more surprising was that she, who was smiling sweetly like an angel in white, was out of tune with the aura of the extraterrestrial battlefield. What was even more surprising was that her aura was only at the celestial immortal stage, but she had appeared in front of them silently, and almost collided with them. My little beauty, come into my mind's world. The leader of the God clan was stunned. He was completely attracted by the little beauty as if water had entered his brain. He didn't even consider the significance of such a person appearing in front of them. And at such a close distance, if she was really just an ordinary celestial immortal, how could she appear silently? How was it possible for her to greet them with a smile under the pressure of thousands of steel torrents? Don't. I'm so scared. The young nurse immediately covered her chest like a frightened kitten when she saw a powerful yet gentle energy coming at her from the other party's hand. She looked very pitiful. Fuck your mother. The leader of the insect clan flew into a rage. He slapped the energy released by the leader of the God clan and said, "Try touching this little beauty? Little beauty, come with me." "Fuck off. Mine. Who the fuck dares to snatch her from me?" Chi, boom boom boom. A terrifying battle broke out. Chunhao, who was hiding in the void, was dumbfounded. "You can do this?" Hiss. Chunhao appeared directly beside Lu Hui and stared at her as he spoke. It had to be said that although Chunhao didn't feel anything, Lu Hui, who was only at the celestial immortal stage, was a reincarnated celestial emperor. Her emotions were so contagious that even Chunhao was envious of her. Even the Hongchen Heart Sutra paled in comparison to her. There were thousands of Hongmeng supreme martial artists, and most of them were old men. Yet they couldn't resist the little nurse's casual act. Hee. Lu Hui was like a little bird as she burrowed into Chunhao's arms. She smiled proudly and said, "I was just pretending to be pitiful. Who knew that they would be so weak? Ah, stop it, all of you, stop it. Someone beat us to it. Fuck you. Ah." The leader of the tyrants, who had the strongest cultivation, was the first to rush out of the chaotic crowd. He suddenly saw that the little beauty had already entered someone else's arms, and his mind instantly cleared up. However, when he saw Chunhao's appearance clearly, he immediately let out a cry of horror. "Killing God Chunhao. This is killing God Chunhao." The crowd that was in a frenzy suddenly woke up with the leader's shout and screams. Immediately, someone called out Chunhao's name. At this moment, everyone broke out in cold sweat. There was no doubt that they had completely lost their minds just now. If you know too much, close the door, release. Chunhao, go. Smack. Chunhao slapped the little nurse's buttocks, who had her hands on her waist, and immediately hugged her waist. With a swoosh, the overlord's spear shot out. He moved along with the spear. There was no boundless murderous aura, no vast pressure, and no mysterious supernatural powers. Sometimes, it seemed slow but was actually fast. It seemed soft but was actually hard. Chunhao, who was holding the little nurse in one hand, was like a breeze shuttling through the entire space. Wherever he passed, nothing could touch him. Every time the spear flashed, a foreign race cultivator would be pierced between his eyebrows. Ah! A scream resounded through the sky, but it was not from the enemy. It was from the little nurse, Lu Hui, who opened her eyes wide and screamed excitedly. She felt as if she was dancing. She danced along with Chunhao's movements. She was as light as the wind and as graceful as a stream. Before she could scream, she died. All that was left in Lu Hui's eyes was Chunhao, who was cruelly reaping lives with a smile on his face. Ah, ah, ah. After Lu Hui's excited scream, the foreign race cultivators looked at their exploding heads. Their eyes widened, and they finally let out horrified screams. Boom, 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 boom. One by one, they unleashed extremely violent energy toward Chunhao, who had turned killing into an art. There was no cruelty, only elegance. Chi. At this moment, Chen Hao finished showing off, and his spiritual altar instantly bloomed. Boom. Ah. As Lu Hui screamed, Chen Hao's body suddenly expanded infinitely. In an instant, Lu Hui was like a real little bird. She rode on Chen Hao's ear and grabbed onto a thick strand of Chen Hao's long hair. Her face was filled with the shock and excitement of a little girl. In the extraterritorial battlefield, which was a few days' flight away from the human race's entrance, there were many huge floating meteorites. Palaces condensed from divine power nomological laws stood in great numbers. They were densely covered with Tao marks. Some large meteorites, which were not inferior to ordinary planets, had powerful seals placed on them. They became the encampment of the 9 Galaxies Alliance. At the core of the incomparably huge meteorite fragment, the 9 great commanders of the 9 Galaxies Alliance gathered in a huge palace hall. Buzz. 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 Why aren't they replying? How is this possible? Fuck, are they rebelling? The commander of the tyrants, who was sitting on one of the 9 main seats in the hall, said with an ugly expression after sending the message through the token. 6,000 words, please vote monthly. Thank you. Chapter 11:15. There was only half a year left before the final battle began. The strongest armies led by the 9 great commanders had all arrived. At this moment, the leader of the 9 great commanders, the tyrant commander, began to send out messages to tabulate the situation of the armies that had arrived. However, what made him furious was that there were no replies from many of the armies. What's going on? The other 8 people frowned and asked. Buzz buzz buzz. The tyrant commander ignored their questions and issued an ultimatum to the army leaders who hadn't received any replies. You want to be a deserter? No matter who it is, anyone who dares to violate this order will have their entire family annihilated. Reply immediately and announce your position. However, what made him even more embarrassed was that there was still no reply after waiting for half a minute. 863 people didn't reply. What's going on? 863 people. It's the same here. Is there a problem? That's impossible. When the tyrant commander didn't reply, the other 8 great commanders directly used their tokens to tabulate the information. However, their expressions changed drastically when they saw that there were so many army leaders who didn't reply. At this moment, they all looked at each other in horror and understood why the tyrant commander was so angry. Their armies were formed by the alliance of the 9 galaxies, and each of them had a part of it. However, it took a lot of time to allocate them. For these armies, if the leader of one galaxy didn't reply, there might be a problem with that galaxy. However, if the leaders of all 9 galaxies didn't reply, there must be a problem with all of them. Buzz buzz buzz. At this moment, the 9 great commanders suddenly received a message from their tokens almost at the same time. Killer God Chen Hao has launched a surprise attack. Killer God Chen Hao and a girl in the heavenly immortal state. Killer God Chen Hao, requesting reinforcements. Send reinforcements immediately. The 9 great commanders looked at each other in horror at the same time. Immediately, the 9 great commanders frowned slightly and issued orders at the same time. Kill 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 kill. What's the situation? That was because the 9 of them received too little information. Even 2 of them only said the words, Killer God Chen Hao, and nothing more. The others weren't any better. However, what made them feel extremely uneasy was that no more information was sent back. Lock onto his position. All the legions in the vicinity, please surround him immediately. You must kill Chen Hao. No mistakes. Buzz buzz buzz. Although the army leader that Chen Hao had annihilated had sent out a message in a hurry, as long as it was connected, the 9 commanders were able to confirm the other party's location through the token. When there was no response, the 9 commanders directly sent a message to the army leaders in their respective star systems through their commander tokens. God of Slaughter Chen Hao. A human and a celestial immortal. What the hell is going on? Although this legion was only a small legion of a few thousand people, but how could they send a message so hastily? Now there's no response. Could it be that the entire army has fallen in such a short time? Trash. Is this small army all trash? Impossible. Even if the 9 of us joined forces, it's impossible to annihilate the entire army in such a short period of time. Could it be that they sucked the members of the army into their mental worlds in order to hurry on their way? Or, I understand. God of Slaughter Chen Hao must have brought a group of human elites with him. Impossible. Don't forget, God of Slaughter Chen Hao is just a Daoyuo golden wonderland. How could he bring people with him? The message they sent before they died was Chen Hao and a young girl in the celestial immortal realm. Commander, we're nearby. We'll reach our destination in about 4 hours. Commander, we'll reach our destination in about 10 hours. Commander, we'll reach our destination in about half a day. Commander, we'll reach our destination in about a day. A moment later, after the army leaders received the order, the army leaders who were closer to the location sent back the news. Commander 9 Lives quickly made arrangements based on the location returned by the message, the strength of the army numbers, and the terrifying combat power of God of Slaughter Chen Hao. In all directions around the position of the army, the various allied armies began to gather and approach. From afar, they formed an encirclement. Beep, beep, beep. Xiaoji 1 was hovering in the air and a crisp voice rang out. Master, there are 56 armies approaching from all directions. 10 of them are large armies, each with about 30,000 soldiers. 23 medium-sized armies have about 15,000 soldiers. The rest are small armies with about 5,000 to 6,000 soldiers. At present, the closest to us is. No one knew that countless high-tech satellites that had concealed their auras were floating in the void. Chen Hao could clearly see the situation within a radius of billions of miles around him. As for Little Wisdom 1, it accurately displayed the enemy's distance, speed, and estimated strength of the army in Chen Hao's mind. This kind of technology that transcended the law of divine ability was undoubtedly of great use in a battle like this. Without needing Chen Hao's instructions, Small Wisdom 1 selected the best targets for Chen Hao. Chen Hao, who was as tall as a mountain, held the Overlord spear that had also expanded countless times. The countless tentacles between his eyebrows suddenly sucked in the bloody mist and corpses that filled the air into the sea of corpses. So powerful, so powerful. Chen Hao, your spear is so powerful. Don't use the Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree in the future. Let it live a little longer. Don't make it bigger, it doesn't look good. Just look at it from the beginning. It feels great. Lu Hui, who was riding on Chen Hao's ear like a little bird, bared her fangs and brandished her claws as she spoke excitedly. Well, it seems like you like Big Brother's spear more? Yes. Ah. Chen Hao, you're so bad. I'm talking about the Overlord spear. I'm talking about the Overlord spear. What did you think I was talking about? Ah. Pure, can't you be a little more pure? Bah. Chi. As the two chatted and laughed, Chen Hao reverted to his original form, and turned into a stream of light with Lu Hui in his arms. Smoke rose everywhere and screams shook the sky. As they chatted and laughed, the oars were reduced to ashes. This was the true portrayal of Chen Hao, the god of slaughter. News spread one after another, and then they could no longer contact him. However, because the battle lasted for a long time, the 9 great commanders received more news. However, the news that made them suck in a breath of cold air, and their hair stand on end, 1 man, 1 spear, and 1 young girl in his arms, wantonly slaughtered in all directions as if he had entered a no-man's land. In particular, after a cultivator sent out a live video message, the 9 great commanders felt their legs go weak. What kind of monster was this? Daoyuo Jingxian was just Daoyuo Jingxian. How could he be so much stronger than the average Dao severing perfected immortal? He shuttled back and forth leisurely, and the spear gleamed like blooming lotus flowers. The adorable young girl in his arms had a look of worship in her eyes and was clapping her hands. It didn't feel like he was killing people, but more like he was performing a smooth, beautiful, and extraordinary dance. However, the lives of the experts of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm were swept away by the autumn wind like withered leaves. 1892, 1493, 2076, and other legions, stop advancing immediately. Do not act alone. Set up a formation to resist the enemy and wait for orders. 856 for 32 119. 3875 and other legions immediately approach the command position and gather. Always prepare for a joint attack. After a large legion was killed by God of Slaughter Chun Hao in 4 hours, the 9 great commanders issued a series of late orders. God of Slaughter Chun Hao, this monster, was definitely not a monster that could be taken down by numbers unless the allied legions joined forces to launch a collective attack and join forces with a big move. However, they also knew that the speed that God of Slaughter Chun Hao displayed was too fast, so fast that it was unbelievable. Of all the supernatural powers in the world, only speed could not be defeated. It was completely interpreted by Chun Hao. If God of Slaughter Chun Hao wanted to escape, who could stop him? What shocked them even more was that the perception of cultivators in this extraterrestrial battlefield was severely reduced. However, judging from the positions of the legions that were wiped out one after another, Chun Hao seemed to have gone through precise calculations. Every time he was in a battle, the next battle would be with the legion closest to him. Report it, the tyrant commander said with a heavy expression. Report it. It's not that we're incompetent, but that the enemy is too strong. This is clearly the strength of a Tao-severing perfected immortal. How can we resist? This was like a tiger, the king of all beasts, pouncing on a flock of sheep. More importantly, this tiger had wings. What could they do in such a situation? It ate when it wanted to. When it couldn't eat anymore and wanted to rest, it flapped its wings and disappeared. One person could create chaos among the legions of the Alliance of 9 Great Galaxies. Moreover, at this point, they were already clear that the disappearance of hundreds of legions previously must have been caused by God of Slaughter Chun Hao. This was the truly terrifying thing. Until now, they still didn't know how Chun Hao did it. God of Slaughter Chun Hao. God of Slaughter Chun Hao. God of Slaughter Chun Hao? One person. The real commanders and experts guarding the entrances of the 9 galaxies all received the news at the first moment. Their expressions all turned extremely ugly. Ignore it. The original plan is to gather and launch an all-out attack. Cannon fodder was cannon fodder after all. The real experts of the foreign tribes gave the order immediately. At the same time, they reported to their respective commanders that God of Slaughter Chun Hao had killed countless legions of the foreign tribes, and that his strength was comparable to a Tao-severing perfected immortal. The patriarch of the Tyrant Jin family, who was also the patriarch of the Shao family, flew into a rage when he received the news. When he learned that God of Slaughter Chun Hao had returned, he still believed that his true 10th life golden dragon would be unscathed and invincible in the 10-direction territory. Although he couldn't understand why Chun Hao could return because of the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland. Now that Chun Hao from the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland had displayed the strength of a Tao-severing perfected immortal, he felt a strong sense of unease. With such strength, even the Alliance of 9 Great Galaxies in the 10-direction territory, including the 9 great experts such as the Golden Dragon, would not be able to do anything to Chun Hao. First update. Seeking monthly votes and recommendation votes. Chapter 11:16. Moreover, the Shao family patriarch already knew that Gao Kun of the Dark Demon race had been killed by Aotian, or more accurately, Chun Hao. What about the others? The Shao family patriarch had a feeling that his 10th life, the Golden Dragon, would be very different from what he had expected. He was definitely not dead, but would he end up like Gao Kun, becoming a puppet of the killing god Chun Hao? The possibility was too high. It was so high that the Shao family patriarch was terrified. Kill. No matter what, we must kill Chun Hao. If we let him grow to become the supreme of Hongmeng, no one in this world will be able to stop him. The tyrants, send out 100 of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm's top elites. I will persuade the other galaxies. The Shao family patriarch directly gave the order to the tyrant's leader. Yes, it was an order. 100 supreme of Hongmeng's top elites were definitely close to the cutting Tao perfected immortal level. The strongest among them must have reached the strength of an ordinary cutting Tao perfected immortal. There was no doubt that they were the super geniuses of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm. Soon, the 9 galaxies reached a consensus and sent out their strongest 100 supreme of Hongmeng. Their only mission was to kill Chun Hao. As for the outsider armies that were already in the battlefield, They carried out their orders according to the previous orders. They ignored Chen Hao because it wasn't something they could interfere with. The only thing they changed was to launch the attack in advance. Beep, beep, beep. Master, stop the alien armies and start the attack. However, they are heading toward the entrance of the human race. We have received news that the Alliance of the 9 Galaxies has started the attack earlier, and has given up on Master. Oh, Chen Hao, who was rushing toward the next alien army, frowned slightly. Going too far is as bad as not going far enough. Hero, what do you mean? Beauty, I've overdone it. Ah? Do you mean that the enemy army was scared out of their wits by you and ran away like rats? Exactly. However, if I'm not wrong, the more powerful Supreme of Hongmeng, who are comparable to cutting Dao perfected immortals, will appear and join the cannon fodder army to attack the entrance of the human race and wait for me to arrive. This is called surrounding Hao and waiting for Hao. I understand. Hero, do you dare to go? Lonely as snow, loud as sparse, all for the sake of a defeat. How can this hero not go? Let's go. Chen Hao teased the little nurse, Lu Hui, but his eyes flashed with a cold murderous aura. His fighting spirit rose. He grabbed the little nurse's waist and disappeared in a flash. At the same time, he sent a message. Little Snow mission completion rate, 10,000%. Because of this, the Alliance of the 9 planetary systems has launched an all-out attack ahead of schedule. Proud Heaven's legions can now act according to plan. Chen Shui read the information from the AI and exclaimed. Commander Xixian, who had been watching Chen Shui's every move like an ant on a hot pan, arrived beside Chen Shui in a flash. What news? Don't tell me you're asking for backup. Xixian stared at the shocked Chen Shui and said. However, she realized that after hearing her words, Chen Shui's expression became extremely strange. Hurry up and tell me. I'm just angry at him for boasting. If there's really danger, we'll move out immediately. If something were to happen to him, Master would be furious. Commander Itoda, Commander Hu Meinyang, Commander Helian Wuzi, Commander Coiling Dragon, Commander Du Jing, Commander Lin Xia, Commander Lan Feng, Commander Chen Ling, Commander Li Yang, Commander Lung Ning Lu, Commander Chen Nan, Commander Chen Yan, Commander Tantai Lian, and Commander Bailey Ningbing. The 10 legions of the vast universe galaxy suddenly appeared in front of Chen Shui and Commander Xixian at the same time. Master Xixian, the 11 legions led by Proud Heavens members request to be the first to move out. Hu Meinyang said in a low voice. Chen Shui also led a legion. Approved. Xixian's expression suddenly became serious. She replied without hesitation. Then she said, Commander Chen Shui, what's the situation? Give me the location. We can't let anything happen to Chen Hao. Hurry up. Commander Xixian, who hadn't had time to wait for Chen Shui's reply, saw that all the members of Proud Heaven had come and requested to fight. Her intuition told her that something had happened to Chen Hao. How could she dare hesitate? How could she not know Chen Hao's importance? He was Master Yi Lan's pillar of support. If something happened to Chen Hao, how could she face Master Yi Lan? Therefore, not only did the 11 legions led by Proud Heavens members move out, she also had to lead the top experts of the human race and rush over as quickly as possible. Cough cough, huh? Haha. Are you serious? As soon as Xixian finished speaking, she frowned. Chen Shui couldn't help but burst out laughing. Hu Meinyang, Coiling Dragon, and the others also had strange expressions on their faces. Some were surprised, and some were laughing. They didn't look at all like Chen Hao was in trouble. Master Xixian, I'm sorry to have made you nervous. Chen Hao sent word that he completed the mission, 10,000%. That's why the 9 Galaxies Alliance is launching an attack ahead of schedule. The legions led by Proud Heavens members are now moving out according to Chen Hao's battle plan. We'll take the initiative to attack from the sides and rear. You all of you get out of here. Get out of here. Commander Xixian's face turned bright red, and she angrily slapped each and every one of them. Even Chen Shui and the other women were no exception. They were all sent flying. She was infuriated. What was she supposed to do as a commander? Was she just a decoration? Not only was she unable to get any information, she wasn't even informed of the battle plan of Proud Heaven's legions. Even worse was that she had been so nervous. All legions, prepare for battle. Everyone, get into position and activate the defensive spell formations. Activate the joint offensive magical artifacts. Information legions, move out. Gather information. Long-range assault legions, prepare for battle. Independent experts, prepare for battle. Provide reinforcements. Reserve legions, prepare for battle. Reinforce any positions that are lost. One command after another was issued from Commander Xixian's command medallion, and the human cultivators within a radius of several billion kilometers began to move out. The clouds of war were gathering. The Outsider Alliance's legions will arrive soon. This is just their cannon fodder. We don't have any cannon fodder. We're fighting to protect our home. Only by not fearing death can we survive. When enemies meet on a narrow path, the courageous will emerge victorious. This is just the beginning. We can't achieve 0 casualties, but we must achieve the lowest possible casualty rate. Bring out all your strength. Kill. Kill without fear of death. Kill. 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 Xixian's beautiful voice became impassioned. Through the formations and runes set up by the human race, it pierced through the void and reverberated for several billion kilometers. A battle between legions in the Grand Mist Supremacy realm naturally wouldn't be like a battle between legions in the mortal world. In a battle of this level, it was normal for people to be separated by millions, or even tens of millions of kilometers. To a Hongmeng supremacy, destroying a star in the blink of an eye was no different from a mortal world mortal. Chi. No way. There's no spiritual energy of heaven and earth, nor are there any magical laws. How mysterious. Ah, Commander Lan Feng. What kind of battleship is this? When Lan Feng arrived at his almost female army, he immediately summoned 100 battleships that weren't very large in size. As soon as these battleships rose into the air, everyone was shocked. This was because the aura of these battleships didn't cause any fluctuations in the energy of heaven and earth. They just floated quietly in the air. This was a high-tech magnetic field reversal, a flight mode that transcended gravity. It was also the most basic flight mode of the high-tech battleships in the Skyriver sector. Only when one was close enough could they feel the change in the gravitational field. Looking at the many pairs of eyes that were looking at him, many of them were female Hongming beauties with beautiful faces, figures, and temperaments. Furthermore, they were all women, not women. Lan Feng's expression carried a trace of imperceptible pride. He stroked his naturally handsome fringe and said proudly, "This is a battleship unique to the Proud Heavens. It's the Killing God Chunhao brand. There's no other brand like it. All team leaders, lead your team members. Go. Everyone, follow me to board the ship." "Ah, Commander, how do we control it?" "You'll understand once you board the ship. It's easy to understand and easy to learn. Anyone can control it and use it. It's suitable for both young and old, men and women alike. No need for nonsense. Let's go." Lan Feng opened his mouth and said. Everyone was stunned when they heard this. Chi. After Lan Feng finished speaking, he turned into a stream of light and entered the first battleship under the escort of 100 cultivators. Only 30 of these 100 people were men, and they were all powerful old men. The other 70 were the ones with the strongest appearance, figure, temperament, and strength in his army. They all had the primordialine body. Such an obvious situation. Let alone Lan Feng, everyone in the army knew that there was a certain meaning behind it. However, those who had cultivated to the Grand Mist Supremacy realm and maintained their primordialine bodies were naturally very decent geniuses. At least in the vast universe galaxy, they were considered geniuses. They didn't show any intentions of getting close to Lan Feng, just because he was a Daoyuo Golden Wonderland, and had the heaven-defying talent of a Hongmeng supremacy. After the incident with Xiao Feng, especially after knowing that he was the legendary third life of teacher Xixian, Lan Feng had completely given up. The feelings that were buried deep in his heart, because of Boss, were crushed to pieces. How could he subdue such a woman? Only a pervert like Boss could subdue her. He didn't have the guts, heart, or ability to do so. Therefore, he was a little excited to have 70 beauties accompanying him. However, it was only a little. Feelings needed to be nurtured. It was enough that he had died prematurely because of one impulse. Lanfeng didn't want to experience it a second time. No one is allowed to refine the battleship. No one is allowed to infuse the battleship with divine ability laws or energy. This is the key to whether we can hide from the foreign army's surveillance. It's the key to our surprise attack and escape. Do you understand? Understood. In the other battleships, the cultivators looked at Lanfeng's image on the screen in front of them and replied in surprise. That wasn't Lanfeng's primordial spirit, nor was it Lanfeng's energy. It was a true three-dimensional image on the huge screen. Second update. Looking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. Thank you. Chapter 1117. Qi. When the Blue Peak Legion's 100 battleships took off, Chen Shui, Hu Meinyang, Coiling Dragon, and the other legions also cut through the void and headed to the two sides of the entrance of the human territory. They wanted to use the stealth ability of the Skyriver Star region's battleships to circle around the sides and rear of the Alliance of the 9 Galaxies and launch surprise attacks to coordinate with the human territory's frontal defense. Vast Universe Galaxy, Second World. The square of the League of Defenders in every city had been overcrowded since the 9 Galaxies had completely shed all pretense of cordiality and joined forces a few years ago. The news of the 9 Galaxies joining forces to divide and occupy the vast universe galaxy had long been announced by the Holy Temple and the League of Defenders. Countless Hongmeng Supreme Masters from the top sects, families, and major forces had left, filling the entire vast universe galaxy with a tense atmosphere as if a storm was about to come. On the square of the League of Defenders in Second World, there were many pagoda steels with golden names shining on them, just like when Chen Hao and other Earth celestial stage cultivators entered the primitive mystic realm. The difference was that this was a life and death battle between the masters of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. This was a matter of life and death for the vast universe galaxy. In the past few years, many of the golden names had turned gray, which represented the fall of the masters. However, their names did not disappear from the pagoda steels, but remained eternal. Their battle records were recorded behind their names. Some cultivators with high battle records were even broadcast on the square of the League of Defenders through the magical Second World. Their life introduction and the battles they experienced in the extraterrestrial battlefield were broadcasted until they died. These were the heroes of the human clan, heroes who sacrificed themselves to protect the great homeland of the vast universe galaxy. Their names would be recorded in the history of the vast universe galaxy forever. After the god of suicide, Chen Hao, and the members of the Proud Heavens officially returned to the human clan, and met with the strongest leader of the vast universe galaxy, Yi Lan, the names of the god of death, Chen Hao, and the core generals of the Proud Heavens appeared on the huge pagoda steels. Their information showed that they were Daoyuo Jingxian, but their identities had become legion commanders. Their military exploits, including Chen Hao's, were all zero. After 2.5 years, their military exploits had not changed at all. In fact, during the past 2.5 years, the military exploits of human cultivators had not changed at all. Even Atoda, the spiritual pillar of human cultivators, had not changed at all during the past 2.5 years. Of course, Itoda Ito had never been mentioned on the pagoda stele. After Chen Hao's return, he had become a core general of the Proud Heaven Society, the only primordial chaos paragon, and the legion general of a legion. Everything indicated that this was the calm before the storm. Nobody knew that in the past 2.5 years, Chen Hao, the god of slaughter, had already killed over 900 non-humankind armies, whether large or small, after abandoning the human token. In Second World, there were countless official members, outer members, and conclave members of the Proud Heavens Society. East Flow City, Yang City, and Everlasting City, which had been established specifically to support the rise of planet Everlasting, were all occupied by the cultivators of the Proud Heavens Society. The president of the Proud Heavens Society had collapsed over 10,000 years ago. The slaughter god, Chen Hao, had returned, and the Daluo Golden Wonderland had led Proud Heaven's core generals out of the 10 Directions domain and into the foreign battlefields that only paragons of Hongmeng dared to enter. What kind of concept was that? At the same time, news had spread throughout the vast universe galaxy that the Slaughter God, Chen Hao, and Proud Heaven's core generals had returned to the vast universe galaxy to meet with Lord Yilan. They had slaughtered countless foreign cultivators, but they didn't have a command medallion, so there were no records. No one doubted the strength of the Daluo Golden Wonderland's Slaughter God, Chen Hao, and Proud Heaven's core generals. All they felt was anticipation. The Slaughter God, Chen Hao, was the creator of miracles, a monstrous genius that hadn't appeared in 1 trillion years in the vast universe galaxy. Once upon a time, Edo Tai had been the pillar of support for the human race in the vast universe planetary system. But now, that freakishly powerful Edo Tai was only a core general of Proud Heaven. Furthermore, there were rumors that Slaughter God Chen Hao was actually Edo Tai's master. Just how strong was the Slaughter God, Chen Hao now? Chen Hao, who always kept a low profile, didn't know about any of this. But as the nurse Lu Hui had said to Chen Hao, sometimes even if you wanted to keep a low profile, you wouldn't be able to. Whether it was nude or a red scarf, if you did it too often, it would eventually be exposed. Especially when there were people who wanted to prevent you from keeping a low profile. How could you keep a low profile? Chen Hao wanted to keep a low profile, but Lord Yilan wouldn't allow it. Destiny was limitless, and people's hearts were infinitely big. The former Slaughter God, Chen Hao, had only attracted the attention of the world when he was in the celestial immortal realm. When the golden scale dragon transformation appeared, his advancement to the grand heavenly immortal realm had collapsed. In Yilan's view, although the Proud Heavens Association had spread throughout the vast universe galaxy and had countless followers, they were all low-level cultivators. It wasn't enough, far from enough. What he wanted was for the name of the Slaughter God, Chen Hao, to resound throughout the ancient chaos universe, to gather the strongest destiny and faith. How could he allow Chen Hao to keep a low profile? However, Yilan didn't expect that Chen Hao would even throw away the token. For 2.5 years no news had spread. When it did, it had already forced the 9 Galaxies Alliance to the point of launching an all-out attack in advance, one person. This was done by Chen Hao alone. Say, do you think our human race can survive? A beautiful young woman held the hand of a young man beside her, and looked at him with a worried expression. As a young girl who had just fallen in love, she was deeply worried about the current situation of the human race. The human race was fighting alone in the 9 Galaxies Alliance. Even if the human race had some natural advantages after entering the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, the hope of victory was too slim. Yes. The young man held the young woman's hand tightly and said in a firm tone, "We definitely can. The president of the Proud Heavens Association, my boss, my brother-in-law, has returned. After more than 10,000 years he has returned today. I believe that he will bring a miracle to the human race. If I had stepped into the 10 Directions domain back then. Cough. As long as you believe that we can win. Brother Long. I'm sorry. If it weren't for me you would have gone. Don't say that. For you I'm willing to stay. It's just that we missed a rapid improvement." "What do you mean? How did we miss it?" "I know the strength of Little Ting and the others very well. Even if they have already comprehended the Hongmeng Qi and started to refine the Great World Mark, their improvement is too exaggerated in just 1,000 years. If they did it on their own, it would be impossible. It's boss. In such a short time, their combat power has increased to the level of the genius Hongmeng supremacy. Haha. Only boss's abnormal ability can do that. But cultivation is a very personal matter. That's because you don't understand the killing god Chen Hao." Long Yi narrowed his eyes and looked at Chen Hao's name on the pagoda monument. He continued, "The primal mystic realm, the great path Sanskrit mantra, and the lotus flower tongue allowed all of us to enter a state comparable to enlightenment for hundreds of years. He taught us all kinds of great path ultimate techniques that are suitable for us. These are all secondary. When we're with him, even if he doesn't do anything, it's like we've gathered all the luck in the world. Whether it's cultivation or training, our progress will naturally become very terrifying. When we were with him, we couldn't feel it. But when we leave his side, we suddenly realize that the companions who were with us before have been left far behind. In these 10,000 years, I've realized this point. 10,000 years. Haha. It's not as good as being with him for 1,000 years, or even a few hundred years. Now little Ting and the others' strength has proven this point. Dong Lu Dong Sheng, and I have been left far behind by them. Huyan Aobua Jing Tiangang, and the others are also the same. A faint smile appeared on the corner of Long Yi's mouth. His eyes sparkled as he spoke softly to the woman beside him. Dong Sheng, I've decided. What? Let's start the real dual cultivation. Ah. Our talents are not as good as theirs. Now the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland is able to dominate the experts in the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. And if we want to catch up with our big brother, we have to improve quickly. In the future, we'll talk about it later. Oh, I understand. But Dong Lu, even if you want to start, let's wait until the battle is over and our big brother returns. Okay. Let's go and see Little Qing. Okay. Little Qing, Fan Xiaoqing, was later changed to Chen Hao because of Chen Hao. She was also the woman who was truly obtained by Chen Hao. Her miserable mortal core status was completely changed because of Chen Hao. Now, although she was still in the Fan family, she had the same status as the eldest daughter of the Fan Donglu family. Since the news of Chen Hao's return spread out, Fan Xiaoqing stayed in her room and didn't step out. She was immersed in the Alliance Square of the Second World, staring at Chen Hao's name. She quietly stared and waiting for the slightest news of her master. She didn't know if her master who had returned after 10,000 years still remembered her, but that wasn't important. She only knew that her master had given her a new life. She didn't care how her master treated her. As long as she could return to her master's side, it was enough. That was her everything. Gratitude and love. Even if it was only her love, it was the meaning of her life. The Second World Limitless City. An existence that wasn't inferior to any of the big cities on vast universe star. Everyone knew that the birth of Limitless City was because of Chen Hao, the god of slaughter. And most of the people in this city came from Limitless Star. The once barren and backward Limitless Star, after 10,000 years, although there was still a big gap between its foundation and the powerful cities, but with the influx of countless experts and the speed of its development, it had surpassed all the other cities. First update, looking for recommendation votes, monthly votes. Chapter 11-18. In the Alliance Square of Wuji City, a group of people gathered. They were the most dazzling people in Wuji Star. They were none other than Huyan Aobua, the first king Jing Tiangang, and the other members of the Proud Heavens Alliance on the Wuji Star. There were also Chen Hao's earliest siblings, Mo Yui Yongfan, and I Jianpain Li Yifeng Buttface and Xiaomei. 10,000 years later, Xiaomei's appearance had not changed at all. She only had a stronger aura and confidence after Chen Hao had destroyed her inferiority complex. 2.5 years ago, after receiving news of the return of killer god Chen Hao, she had not left the Second World. She was like Fan Xiaoqing, waiting for news of Chen Hao, waiting for Chen Hao's return. 10,000 years ago, when Chen Hao saved them from the Valley of Happiness, he opened his heart to her. No one knew how happy she was at that time. Sister Mei. Junior. Sister Mei, what do you think this is? This is when you left the Xiao family and rushed to the royal school. We sent you off. Hee, that's right. Sister Mei, look at how affectionate you are. What? Sister Mei, your talent is very poor. I know. Junior. Thank you for helping me so much. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't even be able to step out of the secular world. Xiao Mei clearly remembered that at that time, Chen Hao's unconstrained words had left her at a loss. Her heart had been filled with apprehension, bitterness, and countless fantasies. Although she didn't expect too much, when Chen Hao said it out loud, she still felt extremely uncomfortable. However, what Chen Hao said next was the happiest and most unforgettable thing she had ever heard in her life. Do you want to become stronger? Of course I do. I think about it all the time. Sister Mei, There is a very simple way for you to become stronger quickly. However, you will have to pay a huge price. What is it? Be my woman and dual cultivate with me. The price is very high. Sister Mei, are you willing? Xiao Mei remembered that before she could finish her words, Chen Hao had kissed her and sealed her mouth. And now, after over 10,000 years, he had returned. Instead, he threw himself directly into a life-or-death battle for the vast universe galaxy. DDD. Suddenly, all the cultivators in the second world, whether they were in the Alliance Square, in the arena, or in the Holy Land of the second world, received a system message. The message was a video conversation between the two of them. One was Chen Hao, the woman who was rumored to be the most loved by the killing god Chen Hao in the vast universe galaxy. She was the leader of the harem. One of them was the god of slaughter Chen Hao. As soon as they saw this video, all the cultivators in the second world of the vast universe galaxy exclaimed in surprise. Long Yi and his Taoist companions Pan Donglu, Pan Dongsheng, Chen Shaoqing, Huyan Aobua, the first king, and Xiao Mei were all excited at once. How? Teacher Si Xian wants me to ask you about the details. Everything you say now will be used as evidence in court. This is Controller Yilan's order. You must answer. It can't be. I worked so hard to fight for the human race, and I broke the law. Abandoning the human race token is an unredeemable crime. Another beautiful figure suddenly appeared in the video. Voila! The moment this figure appeared, it once again caused an uproar among the human cultivators, especially among the geniuses of the temple and countless important figures. It was the immortal legend, Teacher Si Xian. That's because I accidentally forgot. Cough cough. Alright, Teacher Si Xian, ask away. You completed the mission with a 10,000% success rate, forcing the foreign races to launch an attack half a year in advance. What's the specific situation? How many foreign races did you kill? This not many. How many is not many? I've only killed 20 to 30 small core, a few medium core, and one large core. Armies as a whole? Both Si Xian and Chen Shui asked at the same time. It seems so. The specific number is what Controller Yilan wants to know. I'm the commander, and I have the right to know the exact situation of the enemy's forces. You should know that only by knowing yourself and the enemy can I give the correct orders. That's true. Okay, I'll tell you. It's good that you know, but don't make it public. I'm a very low-key person. Speak. Si Xian interrupted, her face slightly green. I killed 39 small armies, 8 medium armies, and 1 large army. They were all wiped out. This is one of the reasons they were forced to launch the attack early. The main reason is, over the past 2 years, I've captured about 900 small armies. Currently, they're all with me. I haven't counted the total number, but the small armies have about 5,000 to 6,000 people. I'll say it again, Teacher Si Xian. It's good that you know. That's it. I'm going to start the battle. Chen Hao pointed at his head and said. After saying this, the display screen in the flying device blurred, and Chen Hao's figure disappeared. He left behind the stunned Teacher Si Xian and Chen Shui. Soon after, the broadcast in the second world ended. Is this real? Countless human cultivators said the same thing as Si Xian had said in Chen Shui's flying device. Back then, Si Xian had been constantly sending messages to Yi Lan from the command medallion. Yi Lan and true immortal Shui Mei had received the news at almost the same time, and they were both stunned speechless. Not long after, Yi Lan didn't hesitate to spread the news throughout the second world. Low-key, you want to keep a low profile, so old man will let you? What's the use of keeping a low profile? The human heart was infinitely large, and the karmic luck was limitless. He wanted Chen Hao to do what he couldn't do, and he believed that Chen Hao could do it. How could he let Chen Hao give up on the chance to gather karmic luck? It wasn't just the second world that spread the news. At the same time, Yi Lan ordered Si Xian to use the command medallion to spread the news to all human cultivators in the outworld battlefield. When Lan Feng and the other proud heaven members saw the message, they laughed proudly. They weren't too surprised. As far as they were concerned, this kind of battle record was only SOSO for their boss. What was there to be surprised about? They'd wondered whether or not the first wave of cannon fodder from the Alliance of 9 Galaxies would arrive. Now that they'd heard of their boss's battle record, they were even more convinced that he hadn't done his best. Otherwise, he wouldn't have captured nearly 900 legionnaires alive. He would have killed them. Kill. Kill. Of course, they knew that their boss wasn't showing mercy to the enemy. He was delaying the real battle, when the true experts of the alien races poured in. Xixian, starting now. Master. I am a commander. Master didn't say you weren't a commander. All right. No one knew that Yilan and Xixian had just issued a new order. At the same time, Xixian commanded the 100 top-tier experts who hadn't yet entered the outworld battlefield. Many of them were the elders of Proud Heaven's core generals. Hiss, 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 hiss. The Alliance of 9 Galaxies was like a huge net that was spread across the sky. They were like a flood of steel. And wherever they passed, an overwhelming pressure and monstrous battle intent caused heaven and earth to change colors. Boom. Boom. Above the left flank of the 9 Great Alliance's massive battle line that spanned tens of billions of kilometers, a terrifying aura that did not belong to the laws of divine arts suddenly emanated from the silent void. And yet it was a rumble that resounded across the world. What's that? Countless cultivators in the nearest large army looked at the void in shock. Hiss. Hiss. Be careful. This is man-made. It has to be the human army. Attack. Be on guard. Although the army commander was surprised, he wasn't nervous. This was because he didn't sense any threat from the things flying toward him. They didn't contain any divine ability or terrifying power. They weren't magic treasures or artifacts at all. It was like someone throwing a rock at him. The only advantage was that they were shockingly fast. Boom. 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 Chi. Chi. When the cultivators of this legion heard their leader's words, they violently activated their energy, but they casually waved it at the strange flying object. In their eyes, this thing was not powerful at all. What they really needed to fight was the human legion that hadn't shown up yet. At this time, the ones who could launch a surprise attack here were undoubtedly the top human legions. Reporting to Commander, our army has been harassed and ambushed by the human army, requesting reinforcements from the nearby allied legions to kill the human legions together. The 9 galactic leaders of the army also casually launched attacks to block the rapidly approaching unknown object. They also took the opportunity to report the situation. Although they felt a sense of crisis, they were not in a hurry. After all, he hadn't seen the human legions yet. Leader Pan, is this effective? It doesn't seem powerful at all. And it's so far away. Cough cough, this is boss's order. Boss said that there will be a surprise, so there will naturally be a surprise. Everyone, follow me and prepare for battle. Coiling Dragon stared at the target on the screen, and the rapidly approaching antimatter missile that his boss called antimatter missile. He said without confidence. Boom. 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 Finally, just as Coiling Dragon finished speaking, a terrifying explosion appeared on the screen. Mushroom clouds that could swallow the sky and the earth suddenly spread out from the direction of the explosion. Countless huge meteors in the extraterrestrial battlefield were directly annihilated into dust under everyone's gaze. Chi. 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 Ah! Countless screams could be heard from the mushroom cloud. Then, one after another, non-humankind cultivators rushed out of the mushroom cloud. Their bodies were burning, and their limbs were missing. There was no blood, no flesh, and no blood. However, everyone in Panlong's army, including Panlong himself, couldn't help but stare with their eyes wide open. Second update. Requesting monthly votes and recommendation votes. I have a stockpile of votes in the annual meeting. I can't explode. Please support Dark Mountain. Thank you. Chapter 11:19. So powerful. The tall and burly female guard, who had doubted the power of Coiling Dragon's attack a moment ago, exclaimed in shock. Charge. Finish the battle quickly. Kill. Coiling Dragon regained his senses and gave the order excitedly. Chi. 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 As the antimatter missiles were launched, the battleships that were also closing in quickly opened their doors. The 10,000 human cultivators of the Coiling Dragon Legion instantly charged madly into the half-destroyed alien army. No one in the foreign race army had expected that the seemingly powerless thing would explode with such terrifying power when it exploded. Those who were able to survive were the stronger ones, but they were also severely injured. The human army that suddenly charged over was full of vigor. Even if they were at their peak state, they would still be no match for this human army, let alone the fact that most of their army had already been destroyed. Commander, we encountered the army led by Coiling Dragon. They were attacked by an unknown object and suffered heavy casualties. Please send reinforcements immediately. Send reinforcements immediately. The 9 leaders were pitch black, their bodies almost completely cracked and bleeding from their 7 orifices. They managed to survive by relying on their powerful strength. Each of them sent out an emergency request for help at the first moment, and sent the situation to the commanders of their respective galaxies. Kill. 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 Coiling Dragon took the lead like a ferocious beast in human form. He started to kill violently. The members of the Legion also unleashed their most powerful attacks without holding back. They only had one goal, which was to destroy the enemy as quickly as possible, and then retreat immediately. Our reinforcements will be here soon. Charge! 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 Fuck you! Boom! The Coiling Dragon heaven-splitting axe, as if it was splitting the heavens and splitting the earth, directly chopped a leader who was trying to boost the morale of the defeated soldiers into pieces. It's been 3 minutes. Fuck. Retreat. After holding on for 5 minutes and still not being able to destroy the enemy, Coiling Dragon reluctantly gave the order. Fucking retreat, all of you. This is an order. Seeing the cultivators who didn't carry out the order immediately, Coiling Dragon cursed. Leader will, fuck you. Carry out the order. If you're 1 second late, you'll be expelled. Boom. Coiling Dragon was the first to turn into a stream of light and fly towards the battleship. At this time, the members of the army, no matter how unwilling they were, immediately followed Coiling Dragon at the fastest speed. Not long after they boarded the battleship, the members of the Coiling Dragon Legion gasped when they saw the large screen of the battleship, showing the army of non-human cultivators charging at them from all directions. Damn it! Did you see that? Fortunately, I stuck to boss's order. If we were 2 minutes later, how many of us could have escaped? The human-shaped beast Coiling Dragon suddenly replaced the enemy on the screen of the 100 warships. It pointed at everyone's noses and cursed. Did you see that? Huh. I hope there won't be a next time. Military orders must be obeyed. Who the fuck dares to talk nonsense with me? Even if the enemy doesn't kill you, I'll kill you first. Almost at the same time, on the right side of the 9 galaxy alliances, Du Jing stared at all the army members with a gloomy expression. The people of the 2 legions kept quiet out of fear. This is the first battle. Now, I'll tell you the highest goal of the 11 legions of proud heavens. At this time, Du Jing and Coiling Dragon spoke in their respective legions. Our mission is to pin down the enemy as much as possible, not to fight to the death. The 11 legions of proud heavens move in 11 directions alone. What do we have to fight against the non-human armies? Even if the enemy is cannon fodder, they're still the supreme of Hongmeng. They're still a huge army alliance. Just now, you could have killed all of them, but when you did, your legions would have been surrounded. Which one of you is confident you can escape? If that's the case, 3 battles, and you'll all be dead. Coiling Dragon and Du Jing said the same thing. Junior brother Bug, I don't want you to die. Huh? The members of the Coiling Dragon Legion and the Du Jing Legion suddenly frowned and wore strange expressions. What's going on? Cough cough. Senior brother, about that, you should just say it yourself. Cough cough. Boss, do it yourself. Do it yourself. There's no need to hide it. After all, everyone in the Outworld battlefield knows about your amazing battle record. Du Jing said awkwardly. The 2 of them had just finished their first battle, and were reporting to Chun Hao when Chun Hao told them to tell the rest of their legions the plan. Now that they knew the goal, they wouldn't question their leader's orders again. But Coiling Dragon was one thing. He was a bore to begin with, but even Du Jing seemed to have lost a string. He directly repeated Chun Hao's words. Now he had said his own name. I'll let you all enjoy the heroism of our boss. What the others didn't know was that Coiling Dragon and Du Jing's brainless actions were actually intentional. They had already received orders from Commander Xi Xian, or more accurately Yi Lan, that if they received any information about Chun Hao, they were to report it immediately. Yi Lan didn't say much. He only said, if you think about your boss, think about Aotion, and think about yourselves, then don't hide any of his achievements. Push him out from behind the scenes. How could Coiling Dragon and Du Jing not understand what Yi Lan meant? Buzz buzz. After Coiling Dragon and Du Jing finished speaking, they didn't wait for Chun Hao's reply and directly switched the communication link with Chun Hao to Chun Hao's current image. Fuck. The moment Chun Hao appeared on the display, the word fuck was uttered. The cultivators of the two legions, who were 70% female, all opened their mouths wide. Cough cough. However, Chun Hao didn't cut off the connection. He coughed and sat up straight. His handsome face and dark eyes were emitting a sharp and cold aura. Right now, our opponents are just the cannon fodder of the Alliance of the Nine Galaxies. You are the elites of the human race selected by Aotion. If we have to sacrifice you to fight the cannon fodder, we will definitely lose this battle. In the end, the vast universe galaxy will fall. Our family, friends, and billions of compatriots will be trampled, ravaged, and enslaved by the Nine Galaxies. This is just the beginning. It's far from the time to fight with our lives on the line. The real battle will be after the cannon fodder is annihilated. Therefore, I want none of you to die. You have to achieve the greatest battle record with the least effort and price. Suppress your thoughts of sacrificing yourselves. Third update. Chapter 11:20. In just 2 minutes, your two legions have wiped out 70% of their forces. Only 30% are left. If we leave decisively, and don't lust after the remaining 30%, we'll have 0 casualties. Our strategy is simple. We'll attack them again and again, and then we'll move to another location. That's because we have the concealment of our battleships, and we're faster than them. Why should we risk our lives? Our vast universe planetary system is fighting alone against an alliance of 9 planetary systems. None of them are weaker than us, and quite a few of them are stronger than us. What's the point of victory? If we fight with absolute power, we'll lose. That's why we can't just fight with our lives on the line. None of us are cannon fodder. You, and all human cultivators who are preparing for the war at the entrance of the human territory, are not cannon fodder. Chun Hao's expression was one of arrogance and self-confidence. What we need to do is split up their forces and break them down one by one. We can't just charge in and fight to the death. Time, place, and people are all in our favor. What's there to fear? Our entrance is limited. No matter how many of them they have, they won't be able to do anything at the same time. Guarding the entrance isn't a matter of merit, but a matter of not making any mistakes. As long as we can stall for time, we'll be fine. As for us 11 wolves, we'll be the sharp fangs of the elephant that is the alliance of 9 planetary systems. We'll tear them apart piece by piece. We'll make the most of our advantages. What are our advantages? Our individual strength, our concealment, and our speed. That's why we're going to ambush them. We'll stun them with a single blow, and then move 100 million kilometers away. Regardless of the results, we'll end the battle quickly. If the enemy advances, we'll retreat. If the enemy retreats, we'll advance. If the enemy stays, we'll attack. That's our strategy. That's the strategy of the proud Heaven 11th Legion. Think of it as a game. Chun Hao's lips curled into a mocking smile, and his eyes shone with wisdom. A game where we play hooligan with our opponents. A game where we harass, lure, and kill them. We'll use time to slowly devour them. Alright, find an opportunity. Continue. Whoosh. Chun Hao cut off the video feed, and the 20,000 soldiers from the two legions, including Du Jing and Coiling Dragon, were all in an uproar. Hooligan, this was definitely a hooligan tactic. The armies of the 9 planetary systems were like a group of girls huddled together, while proud Heaven's 11 legions were like perverted wolves. If they tried to take advantage of a group, They could drown proud heaven with a single spit. But if they focused on a single target, they could easily wipe out an entire legion. Even if they were only halfway through, and didn't manage to kill all of them, they would still have profited. As long as this action was repeated over and over again, the other party would be divided up bit by bit. It's changed. It has changed. Coiling Dragon Legion. Du Jing Legion. When the Coiling Dragon Army and Du Jing Army finished their first attack, in the second world of the vast universe galaxy, the battle records of over 20,000 people changed. The Coiling Dragon Army and Du Jing Army shot up countless ranks, especially Du Jing, who was best at group attacks. He killed hundreds of non-humankind cultivators as soon as his battle record changed. It was much higher than Lin Xia, the vice commander of the army. Obviously, this was not the number that the army commander had assigned to the group battle. Instead, it was the number that he had killed when he fought alone. After a while, the total battle record of the 20,000 people of the two armies was calculated. Each army had killed over 6,000 people. From the beginning to the end of the battle record, it only took 2 minutes. Without a doubt, such a terrifying killing speed was very shocking. But the most shocking thing was that there were no casualties. 0 casualties. The two legions killed around 13,000 enemy troops and suffered 0 casualties. This was no doubt very shocking. Especially in a chaotic battle between two armies, it was basically impossible. After all, this was not like Chen Hao's one-man slaughter. Instead, it was a chaotic battle where many of the soldiers had battle records. But now it was happening for real. This was a miracle. Moreover, the human cultivators soon realized that the first 2 battles were just the beginning of a miracle. More than half of you are dead? The commanders of the 9 galaxies roared. In just 2 minutes, more than half of you are dead? Are you pigs? Commander, the cylindrical object shot by the enemy was very powerful. It instantly destroyed half of our people. Those who were lucky enough to survive were severely injured. Please take a look. The remaining leaders of the two armies reported the scene of the battle to their respective commanders in horror. After the 9 commanders saw the video, they angrily issued a notice to all the armies. Chi. A few days ago, 100 masters from each of the 9 galaxies cut through the void and headed toward the entrance of the human race at a terrifying speed. There were 900 of them. They were the top masters of the 9 galaxies in the Grandma's supremacy realm. They appeared for only one purpose: killing God Chen Hao. Every one of them had an aura that even the current commanders of the 9 galaxies could not compare to. The strongest few had extremely terrifying auras. Ordinary Hongmeng Supremes would not be able to fight back under their pressure. Killing God Chen Hao, old man will kill you with his own hands. An elder from the tyrants, who was leading the way and could travel thousands of miles in the blink of an eye, had an extremely terrifying aura. His eyes were as cold as swords, and his heart was extremely cold. This old man was the leader of the 100 masters of the tyrants. He was also the strongest among them. When the other 99 people saw the person who had been appointed as their leader, but whose name they had never heard before, their dissatisfaction disappeared. How was this relying on the position of the Jin family's patriarch? He was using his true strength. He was truly powerful. Even a few top geniuses who were close to the strength of a cutting Dao perfected immortal felt boundless terror from this old man. There was no doubt that this was a master who had the strength to kill ordinary cutting Dao perfected immortals. This also made everyone feel that the Jin family's foundation was even more unfathomable. Yes, this old man was from the Jin family. If the controller had not appointed him as their leader this time, they would never have heard of such a person in the Jin family. Jinji. Just like the golden dragon that appeared out of nowhere in the Daoyuo Golden Wonderland. He was so powerful that it made people's hair stand on end. Although they had never seen him in action, the instinctive feeling between masters made them know that they were no match for this old man. Naturally, they were no match for him. Jinji, the number of extremes. 9. After the Xiao family's patriarch fused the 9 lives, he separated another life to kill Chen Hao. It was the 9th life. 4th update. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.